welcome to a sold-out Rich Stadium here in Orchard Park, New York, home of the AFC East Division champion Buffalo Bills. They'll play host to the 11-4 Detroit Lions. The Lions still have a shot at the NFC Central Division title with the victory today, that coupled with the loss by Chicago tomorrow night. And good afternoon, everyone. I'm James Brown. Let me make you aware right off the top that we have had some power and transmission problems that may affect the scope of our coverage today. Right now, everything looks to be in good shape. Now, today's game was to be a showdown between Barry Sanders and Thurman Thomas of Buffalo for the NFL rushing title. That may not take place. My partner is Randy Cross, and Randy, the reason it may not happen is that Marv Levy has decided to keep the injured Thurman Thomas along with Jim Kelly, Steve Tasker, and James Lofton on the bench.
Yes, James, and in my opinion, that's doing a disservice not only to the NFL, that does a disservice to the Buffalo Bills. They need to go roaring into the playoffs. They don't need to go limping in a half-hearted effort.
All right, and as far as Detroit is concerned, they have, in fact, locked up their first playoff spot since 1983, but heck, Coach Wayne Fontes is not satisfied with just getting in.
Not at all. He sensed his team was a little loose. His team was a little bit joking during the week in practice. He cracked down on them and told them, hey, look, guys, we're talking not only playoffs here. We want to win the division, and everybody in the playoffs from this point on thinks they're going to be in Minneapolis at the Super Bowl.
A gorgeous day here in Buffalo. 41 degrees, wind chill just 22. Certainly feels like a stronger wind than 10 miles per hour. Buffalo has won the coin toss and will receive. Buffalo in the blue, Detroit in the white. Eddie Murray kicking off for Detroit, and back deep, Al Edwards among others.
James, I was down on the field. They estimate that wind between 20 and 25 miles an hour as far as the coaches are concerned.
So the ball out of bounds. It will be taken at the 35.
The ball will be placed at the receiving team's 35-yard line. First down.
Tom White is our referee today, and Frank Reich will be starting at quarterback in place of Jim Kelly. Frank Reich making his second start. Last time was last year against the Redskins, an offensive line that Marv Levy calls simply superb. Kenneth Davis in place of the injured Thurman Thomas. Al Edwards in place of James Lofton. 1st and 10 for Buffalo. Right, back to pass on first down, and it's complete to McKellar, and McKellar has the first down. A 16-yard pass play, and a semi-huddle, if you will, is Frank Reich trying to bark out signals, a la Jim Kelly. To Gardner, and Carwell Gardner pulling his way to the 45, a 4-yard gain.
And Benny Blaze will not only be tested by types of a Gardner, but you saw McKellar on that first play. That defensive backfield is going to have to make a lot of tackles against Buffalo today. Their front, look at Lawrence Pete in the middle. Didn't have a good game last week in his first game replacing Jerry Ball. The linebackers, the two in the middle, Gibson and Spielman are the run specialists, and the defensive backs. Like we said, they'll be tested.
A gain of 4 brings up a 2nd and 6. Ball at the 45 of Detroit. Right on the ground again. This is Davis, and Davis spinning his way down to the 40. A pickup. We'll call it a 4. We'll bring up a 3rd and 2. Kenneth Davis has done a nice job whenever he's been called on, Randy. No major drop-off at all.
Not at all. And the main reason, James, is his offensive line at Buffalo. This is the best offensive line right now in the NFL, bar none. There is no one, I think, even close.
Strong statement, Randy. We'll bring up a 3rd and 1 situation. Kenneth Davis, the ex-running back for the Green Bay Packers. 3 tight ends, McKellar, Metzelaars, and Butch Roll. Power formation for the Bills. And Davis has the first down. Frank Reich, as I mentioned, getting his start. Last time he did start was last year against the Redskins, and although far limited play compared to Kelly, strong stats nonetheless.
And the only thing that really jumps out when you look at statistics with him is they are a more conservative running team with Frank Reich at the helm.
1st and 10. This is Gardner. And Carwell Gardner running hard inside the 35, a gain of 4.
And James, you talk about them being more conservative and more of a running team with Frank Reich at the helm. He's got a great explanation for why. He says, I have an offensive line mentality. He says, my dad was an offensive line coach. My brother's an offensive line coach. He goes, I just tend to think along the lines of the ground game. Now, Marv Levy there is a guy known for his offense, for his flash. He's got Ted Marchibroda as offensive coordinator with a real high-tech offense. With this guy at the controls, it's a running team.
And I'm sure the linemen love it as a result. 2nd and 6 from the 33. Right to pass. With time. Throws it incomplete. Intended receiver was McKellar. McKellar, a big tight end, 4th-year player out of Jacksonville State, 6'4", 245. Dennis Gibson, the inside linebacker for Detroit, on the coverage. And Wright back to pass again. And Andre Reed has the first down. There is a flag on the play.
And it's back on the line of scrimmage, right in the area of a little movement or lining up offsides, James.
There's also one back at about the Detroit 13.
Illegal procedure against the Buffalo Bills. I always love it when the ref asks for a captain from the other team in that situation. Would you like to give them 15 yards or should we penalize them? Well, let me think about that.
The obvious.
Illegal formation. Number 75 was uncovered on the right side of the line. 5-yard penalty. Still 3rd down.
That was on Big Howard Ballard, and I mean big, folks. 6'6". Randy, they've got him listed at 325. Some said 345. He's nowhere near neither.
325, yeah. And Santa will fit down that chimney, too.
Probably closer to 370. 3rd and 11. Right, audibly at the line of scrimmage. 4 wide receivers for the Bills. Davis, the lone back. And Wright going downtown. Incomplete. As a matter of fact, having to play. Sheldon White did a nice job of coverage that time.
And Reich is going to test him early. He's hit the short passes. Now he's going for the whole thing. And there's White, just had the position. Remember, going that way, they're throwing into about a 20-25 mile an hour wind. You hang a ball up into that wind, it is going to be affected. The quarterbacks today will have to take the air out, throw longer, more of a strike-type passes.
That's exactly what Chris Moore will be kicking into. And Mel Gray signals for the fair catch. And an out of bounds at the 11, so the Lions will take over. Ball marked actually at about the 12 on a 26-yard punt. First possession of the afternoon for the Lions. Ball at their own 12. And Eric Kramer, 5-2 as a starter since taking over for the injured Rodney Peete, will be at the helm. The offensive line is a revamped one since the injuries to Mike Utley and Eric Sanders, but it is anchored by the Pro Bowler Lomas Brown. 4 wide receivers in this run and shoot offense, and the Pro Bowler Barry Sanders. Kramer. Sanders. And Barry Sanders ran for the first down. Actually pushed out of bounds about 2 yards shy. Right now, let's check back in New York with Greg.
All right, JB, in Irving, Texas, 2 10-5 teams, Atlanta and Dallas. 4th play of the game. Steve Berline, 58 yards to Michael Irvin. And with the extra point, the Cowboys have jumped on top of the Falcons 7-0 in the first quarter, James.
All right, Greg, and the rushing battle will be between Emmitt Smith and Barry Sanders as opposed to Thurman Thomason. This is Sanders again. Sanders had 8 yards gained on the last play. He has the first down this time. Barry Sanders run out of bounds again by Nate Odoms, a 6-yard gain. He's got 14 yards on 2 carries. Barry Sanders.
And it'll be the Buffalo's defense job to fill the gaps on Barry. See, Cornelius Bennett, normally a pass rusher. Today, his job is to shadow Barry Sanders. Up front, is not the same Bruce Smith you've seen in the past, still suffering from his knee surgery. The linebackers, Talley, Bailey, Conlon, and Bennett will be the key to stopping Barry Sanders. The defensive backs will have to deal with the short underneath passes from Eric Kramer in this passing offense.
10:30 left in the first quarter of play. No score as Kramer goes back to pass. Complete to a wide open Mike Farr, who fumbles. And it's recovered by Detroit. Robert Clark picks it up inbounds. So an alert play by Robert Clark keeps the ball in Detroit's hands as Mike Farr pulls in the pass. A 28-yard play from Kramer to Farr.
And where Farr catches this pass is the back end of the normal linebacker type zones. And the linebackers are hesitating, dropping off because of Barry Sanders. He's burned them with the first two runs. They hesitate. He gets the play. The ball comes loose. Clark's there.
Ball in Bills territory at the 42. 1st and 10, Detroit. Sanders. And Barry Sanders juking his way to the left side of the line for 4 yards. Tackled by Leonard Smith. And a busy day already for Greg Gumbel. Let's check back with him.
JB, they're rolling him up in Irving, Texas. Atlanta's Chris Miller for Michael Haynes. 67 yards down the sideline for the touchdown. With the extra point, it's a tie game in the Texas Stadium. 7-7 first quarter, JB.
All right, Greg, what a shootout taking place in Texas. Right now, no score here with 9:25 left in the first quarter play. 2nd and 7 for the Lions. Kramer pump once and throws it complete to Willie Green, and Willie Green has the first down near the 25. First-year player out of Mississippi. Randy, again, going back to the top, we talked about how the hype was the battle between the two ex-teammates, Thomas and Sanders, college mates.
Former Oklahoma Staters. Thurman's not going to play in this game. He's not severely hurt. Marv Levy's decided not to play him in this game, and Emmitt Smith in Dallas will be Barry's closest competitor. But Barry should run away with this thing easily unless Buffalo decides to adjust this 42 defense they're playing now. They're running off the DBs, and Barry's getting the corners.
1st and 10 from the 25, and Sanders stopped dead in his tracks. Excellent play by Bruce Smith, a loss of 2. And you mentioned that Bruce Smith is not 100%, but Bruce Smith at 80% is better than a lot of guys at 100%.
Well, Bruce Smith not playing up to speed is a good average player. A normal person with this kind of a knee is a real average player. See, Smith makes this move. The difference, the things he can't do now are with that injured knee. He can't plan off. It's his power leg. He can't push off and make the explosive moves, the spin moves in the pass rush. But he says, I got to do whatever I can to make things happen for this team.
May have helped that he didn't go for the juke. 2nd and 12. Flag on the play to the left side.
That'll be offsides on Bruce Smith, lined up as the left defensive end, standing up and jumped offsides.
And having that knee problem would prevent him from getting back quickly to his side.
Offsides, number 78 defense. It'll be a 5-yard penalty. Replay 2nd down.
Well, the defense has made no bones about it that trying to defend against Barry Sanders is going to be a real chore, and these are updated totals on the title, the rushing title, battle between Sanders and Emmitt Smith. Smith, of course, having moved into 2nd place with an idle, Thurman Thomas.
And he's got 10 down in Dallas. That man there, Barry Sanders, has 19 so far today.
2nd and 7, ball on the 22, 7:50 left in the first quarter, no score to Sanders. And Sanders pushed out of bounds at about the 2. Barry Sanders, Randy, we saw him come out well before the game to check this new AstroTurf H surface installed this year. Whatever shoes he's changed to have helped him well. 20 yards on that play.
It's a tackier kind of a surface. It sticks a lot more. You almost wear like basketball shoes. But hey, folks, Buffalo's got to get out of this 4-2 or adjust it, because the linebackers, Bennett and Talley, cannot stay right now with Barry Sanders. They're getting the corners, and they're getting no defensive back support to stop Barry.
1st and goal from the 2. Kramer changing the call. Sanders on the option. A foot race. And apparently he's out at about the 1 or just inside the 1.
You see Barry shaking his head. That's about as much as he'll ever protest a call. He looks like he thought he might have scored, and he also looks like there was a little confusion in the defensive back and the offensive backfield of Detroit. Before that snap, there were a lot of heads turning like, we're doing what?
And it also looked like Sanders might have been caught before he made something out of nothing.
Now watch, look at Barry Sanders in the defensive backfield. I mean, the offensive backfield, like, do I get the ball? Is it a pass?
They're telling everyone else, what about me? Sean Bowens, the right guard and eligible receiver. Don't see the signal.
It would appear he did not get in. Eric Kramer is not one of your classic power quarterback, sneak type quarterbacks.
So apparently no gain on the play as the Buffalo defense has Detroit literally inches from the goal line.
One of the disadvantages of having a Barry Sanders in the offense, if there is one, he's not a great leaper. You got a guy like a Herschel Walker that gets high over piles. A lot of running backs go high over piles. He needs a crease inside to run through, or he needs a corner to run around, because he's just not a guy that gets a lot of vertical jump.
10th play of the drive, and Kramer goes for it again. Still no signal. And Randy, if indeed Kramer did not make it, and that appears to be the case, what do you do here on 4th and goal?
If you're Wayne Fontes in this situation, you have got to go for it. You go for your touchdown. You don't worry about this 3 points thing. Look at that ball is inches, maybe even an inch from the goal line. Good surge initially by the offensive line. I think a slow reaction by Eric Kramer to get in there behind those rear ends that were pushing into the end zone. And there's Bailey. Nothing fires up a defense in an entire team more than that. More than a goal line stand. As you see Wayne Fontes on the sideline telling the guys, get back. Let me see what's happening.
And they're going to go for it. Touchdown, Detroit.
That will be reviewed. They will be looking at where his knee went down in relation to where the ball is. Now let's see. Is the ball over the goal line before his knee goes down? No, it isn't. That ball should be on about the half-yard line. That is not a touchdown.
Well, Detroit better try to kick this field goal quickly before it is reviewed. Al Sabato, the replay official on site.
Everyone's taking their time.
And now it's being stopped. The play is being stopped. You know, Randy, with, again, replay being such an integral part of the game now, if there's any question in a player's mind or a coach's mind, you would seem to want to hurry up and get the play going before they have a chance to stop the action.
They don't have the luxury of seeing this as we do, but I agree, James. Let's get this thing rolling. Let's get this kickoff. Maybe there's a controversy, because right there, great shot. Right there, the ball is on about the half-yard line as that knee went down. That is not a touchdown. This should be a reversal.
And it should be Buffalo ball. First down at the 1. Wayne Fontes saw his troops take a little more than 6 minutes off the clock. 87 yards on an 11-play drive, and maybe will come up empty-handed.
See Marv Levy there. No, they didn't get it. Wayne Fontes on the other side is giving it I thought we were in. I thought 6 points. It's on the board. They can't take it away. Yeah? Watch.
Well, if Kramer, when he has a chance to review that, he'll know better next time. And there is a reversal. Wayne Fontes not liking the outcome. And again, as I mentioned, an 11-play drive that covered 87 yards. Took 6:13 off the clock. They come up empty-handed.
You got to think it's a nice effort by Eric Kramer, but you also got to think, why doesn't number 20, Barry Sanders, have the ball in this situation? That's the size relation between Howard Ballard and a normal offensive lineman. A normal guy looks kind of scrawny and broken down.
And a little upset is what Wayne Fontes probably feels. 1st and 10 for Buffalo at about the 1-inch line. And giving Buffalo great room that time on a run. Kenneth Davis as he picks up 8.
And they test right away down there. Pete in the middle, the nose guard. That's where Green Bay last week had a lot of success running for 110 yards in the first half, running inside. Detroit's playing their defensive ends the last week or so a little wide on the outside eye of the tackles, and that's putting the guards one-on-one with the linebackers and isolating the nose guard. And as you saw there, huge creases open.
2nd and 2. Buffalo starting this series off with a huddle, a lengthy one at that, as opposed to the no huddle. And Kenneth Davis with the first down. Kenneth Davis doing a nice job in relief as he picks up 7. Speaking of 7, all tied at 7 between Atlanta and Dallas. Jets in Miami, of course, the winner of that game will be in. The loser is out.
And Indianapolis going for that win down there in Tampa, trying to get the top 2 picks in next year's draft by beating Tampa Bay.
And Cincinnati, of course, figures in that draft picture as well. You saw the score there.
And of course, they get that extra #1 pick because of that trade between Indianapolis and Tampa for quarterback Chris Chandler.
From the 16, 1st and 10, Buffalo. Davis, the lone back. And Davis, the ball carrier. And Davis runs headlong into Mr. Intensity himself, Chris Spielman, but a pickup of 4 by Davis. 3:33 left in the first quarter of play, no score.
There's an old axiom in football, James. The lineman gets you the first 4 yards. And the lineman got Kenneth Davis the first 4 yards because Spielman, the linebacker, didn't hit him until he had gotten 4 yards. Granted, he got a good tackle. He wrapped him up. He put him on the ground. That's what he gets paid for. What the guys up front get paid for is to clog those lanes up so the linemen can't get off on the linebackers, and the linebackers can run free and make tackles.
Frank Reich looking at a 2nd and 6 from the 20. This is Davis again. Davis with room. First down. And finally brought down by George Jameson. A 35-yard run by Kenneth Davis, 6 carries for 61 yards.
Coming from the left side, the entire right side, about 750, 800-pound of sweep coming at you with Ballard and Parker. Look at them clear things out. Shoelace tackle, ain't gonna work. This guy is running like he belongs as a starter somewhere. One of the better halfback backups you're going to find here in the NFL is Kenneth Davis, a great Plan B acquisition from the Green Bay Packers.
In Detroit territory at the 45, and this is Davis again, and Davis ahead for maybe 3 this time. Well, Randy, you talk about where he just came from, Kenneth Davis, Green Bay, but historically the problems have been the ground game. Why is he flourishing here?
Certain people get away from certain organizations, especially in Plan B, James, because the organizations, frankly, aren't as good and don't concentrate and do as good a job of their homework and studying of players as Bill Paulin and the Buffalo Bills do. These guys know the personnel and made a great pickup in Kenneth Davis.
And Marv Levy said he's not particularly fond of Plan B. 2nd and 7 from the 42. Right, the handoff to Davis, who goes right. And Davis picking his way ahead as he goes ahead for about 5. Tackled by Dennis Gibson and Chris Spielman.
And so far, this Buffalo offensive line and running back situation with Davis is making this Detroit Lions defense kind of look like it did a year or 2 ago. Not like the playoff team it is now, but look at Big Ballard working there next to Metzelaars, number 88, McKellar, 84. Just clean out the line. Whoa. This guy is amazing. Howard Ballard, 340 pounds. You know how many bricks that is? Building bricks for a house, 66.3. Not enough for a house.
Now, I tell you, that's a conservative estimate. That's a cottage house. And Kenneth Davis looks to have the first down. 3-yard gain by Kenneth Davis.
Ballard's actual weight, you might say, is a few bricks short of a load there.
Like a nice addition to the house. He is huge. As a matter of fact, it was Thurman Thomas who was telling us, and I'm sure Kenneth Davis feels the same, running behind this guy, number 75, Howard Ballard, is not a pleasant task at all.
Well, when you're doing sweeps, they say it's good news and bad news. The good news is the big guy is going to blast through. The big guy is going to make room for you. The bad news is once he gets in front of you, you can't see anybody else.
Well, that's the end of the first quarter. No score here in Buffalo. We'll be back after this.
You're watching CBS Sports coverage of the National Football League.
As we start the second quarter here at a sold-out Rich Stadium, it'll be 1st and 10 for Buffalo. Ball is at the 35 of Detroit. And, Randy, we talked about Howard Ballard and the fact that he's got a number on the back of his helmet that the Lions wear.
Much like the Lions have that number 60 on the back of their helmets, Ballard's got a 60. You got to think that's in honor of Mike Utley, the offensive lineman, paralyzed earlier this season.
Complete as Andre Reed catches it for the first down. A nice play action fake of Frank Reich and Kenneth Davis, and Andre Reed wide open for a 25-yard pass. William White on the coverage.
See Dallas going out in front of Atlanta, but you know, James, we talked to Wayne Fonch yesterday, a little worried about the looseness, a little worried about the joking of these Detroit Lions. You aren't going to see it more vividly if it's there than in this type of situation. They're stopped in 4 shots at the goal line. Another team comes down, goes all the way down the field, gets down there and is threatening to score behind it. Big momentum swing here for the Buffalo Bills.
1st and 10. And Davis inside the 10. A pickup of about 3. Stopped by Mark Spindler.
And yes, you know, for those of you that live here in Buffalo or have seen the Buffalo Bills on television before, this isn't a tape from a couple years ago. They are huddling in between plays here. The Buffalo Bills are, you know, we're not used to seeing it. We haven't seen it much on the tapes. But with Frank Reich and with the emphasis on the ground game as it is, in an effort to shorten this game down, Marv Levy and the quarterback Frank Reich have decided we're going to huddle and we'll just make things draw out. We're going to make it longer and longer and eat up as much time as possible.
2nd and 7. Carwell Gardner, the back. And Wright throws it complete. Touchdown, Andre Reed. Receiving touchdown of the season for Andre Reed, a Pro Bowler this year.
A good job of protection by this offensive line. We talked about how good they are. They are the best. Enough time to allow the receiver from the far side of the field to cross all the way in front of the linebackers. And with Andre Reed's speed, you're not going to find a linebacker in the league that doesn't get incredibly lucky even getting close to him when he's running full speed.
Andre Reed has tied the club record of 10 touchdowns with that catch there. Norwood on for the point after. And it's good. So the Bills hit the scoreboard first at the 13:42 mark of the second quarter. Bills looking for their 14th win of the season. Lead the Lions 7-0, 13:42 left in the first half of play. That drive, 10 plays, 99 yards, and took about 6.5 minutes off the clock. Frank Reich to Andre Reed, who has a club record-tying 10 receiving touchdowns. And I tell you, long drives, nothing new for Buffalo.
26 drives, and none bigger against an opponent that really needs this game. Detroit's got to win this game to stay in that NFC Central race. And Buffalo not only took the starch out of them on the goal line, they really slackened them up by driving that ball all the way down the field, mostly on the ground.
Mel Gray from the 5. And Mel Gray banged out of bounds at about the 34-yard line by Hicks. Mel Gray, Mr. Dangerous himself and a Pro Bowler. Lions ball when we come back.
And there's Woody Woodenhofer, the defensive coordinator of the Detroit Lions, explaining to his defense, Guys, it's not enough to fill gaps. This big offensive line is blasting us. We got a slant. We got movement. We've got to get into the backfield and stop them for minus yardage. They're rolling over us.
Lions 1st and 10 from the 34. Sanders trying to find a hole and scoots his way ahead. He slides ahead for 5 as Sanders was juking, trying to find an opening, and finally slid through one. Tackled by Shane Conlon. Barry Sanders mentioned that coming into the game, he really wasn't too disappointed that Thurman Thomas wasn't going to play, although he would have liked it.
Barry's the most team-oriented superstar I've ever talked to. You know, he's got 45 yards, though, on that rushing crown run, and Emmitt Smith in Dallas has 42.
Sanders will try to add a few more to it, and he does as he gets near the first down marker, and it is a first down. Well, for more on what's taking place around the league, let's go back to New York.
All right, James, in Irving, Texas, the Cowboys are back on top. Emmitt Smith, 4 yards around the right side. Both these teams after win number 11 of the season, and right now the Cowboys are leading the Falcons 14-7 first quarter, JB.
Well, Terry Bradshaw was very, very emphatic at the top of the season about the Cowboys being his team. He thought they were going to be the surprise team, and so far, they've proven him right. 1st and 10 from the 45. 12:25 left in the first half. Bills on top, 7-zip. Kramer drills it incomplete to Mike Farr, and that was a very catchable ball. Well, the battle will continue all day long between Barry Sanders and Emmitt Smith, and you can see Barry Sanders trying to put a little distance. Emmitt Smith certainly is going to do his best, though, to see what he can do to pass Barry Sanders.
Oh, exactly, James. But, you know, when you play the Detroit Lions, like Darryl Talley told us Friday, you play these guys, you stop Barry Sanders. If Eric Kramer's a good enough quarterback to beat you with the pass, then he is. You got to respect him for that. But we're worried Buffalo wants to stop Barry Sanders, and they're willing to give up the pass to do it.
2nd and 10. This is Sanders. And Sanders making 2 people miss, making 3 people miss, and finally pushed out of bounds at about the 47-yard line. 7 yards gained on the play. And Randy, I think Darryl Talley had a good description of how it is that Barry Sanders runs different from Thurman Thomas.
Well, he said when you hit Thurman Thomas, he hits you straight on, and he's going to go straight on, and he'll make more yards. But you hit Barry Sanders, he squirts away from you. There's 1 squirt. There's 2 squirts. There's 3 squirts on Odom. Now he's got to use a little muscle, try to keep from getting tackled, but that's what he can do. He can go laterally, be going full speed at Darryl Talley, and be going full speed dead opposite direction just as quickly.
3rd and 2 from the 47. Sanders rammed in the backfield and dropped. No signal. He's still on his feet as Talley misses him. Now he's dropped, we think. Talk about making a loss look extremely exciting. Carlton Bailey finally got to him.
And Cornelius Bennett was down there for a while and is limping a little bit. You don't know whether that's frustration, that's an injury. Barry Sanders has the best 1-yard runs and the best runs for losses in NFL history to watch at. He's got a highlight film. Did you see his knee hit the ground?
Not at all.
It didn't. That is the back in the league that can do that. Nobody else can do that. Buffalo correctly pursues and stays with him. They do not give up, and they drop him for a loss. One more time. 5. Here comes Talley. He's the first one. Cornelius Bennett the second. Didn't see that knee hit down. It landed on Dallafour's back, but it didn't hit the ground.
So Jim Arnold on to punt.
Great kick into the wind, and it's going to die.
Nick Onoga downs it. A 41-yard punt. Bills ball when we come back.
This playoff summary is sponsored by Bud Dry.
As you take a look at the playoff summary, Washington and Buffalo in good shape throughout the playoffs. Only 1 spot up for grabs. That game being played between Miami and New York Jets. NFC, AFC head-to-head. Randy, why such a domination between the two?
I think it's easy to explain. In my opinion, the NFC has the tough, physical, dominating type defenses. Most AFC teams don't. This Buffalo team has that kind of defense. Great talent, great speed, great strength, and I think that's what gives them the inside track to get to Super Bowl 26 on CBS, coincidentally.
And Buffalo is 3-0 against NFC opponents this year. Last loss came back in '89 to the New Orleans Saints. Reich handing off to Davis. And Davis up to the 15, a gain of 4. Will bring up a 2nd and 6. Mark Spindler on the tackle. 10:40 left in the first half of play. Buffalo on top, 7-zip. A game that's important for Detroit, and you don't think you heard any cheers back in Chicago with that Buffalo score here, do you?
Well, there's a few Buffalo fans just got initiated back there in the windy city of Chicago, rooting for these Buffalo Bills to beat Detroit today and give Chicago almost not a day off, but an unimportant game tomorrow in San Francisco.
On 2nd and 6, this is Davis. And Davis slips across the 15 to the 17, a gain of 2. William White on the tackle.
We talked about big Howard Ballard, you know, the house. He'll be working against Mark Spindler. Not a real big guy, but Spindler says, I prefer working against big guys because I get a chance to kind of stuff them. I can put my head in there and I'll read them. Well, Ballard gets a hook on him. Look at the hook, literally. Turns his shoulders, puts Spielman at a disadvantage, letting an offensive lineman get off him. Spindler has got to square up a lot more on Howard Ballard, or Ballard will make this a long, miserable day for the young guy.
Carwell Gardner down the lone back, 3rd and 4. 5 DBs in for the Lions. Flag on the play, Reich. And Reich, was it caught long enough? No, it was not, as Gardner could not hold on to the pass. But there is a flag in the offensive backfield.
Two men moving prior to the snap. The tight end reset. With that, the back went in motion. Therefore, there was 2 men. It's a 5-yard penalty, which will be declined. 4th down.
Well, I guess that was pretty definitive, too.
Is there any way to stretch that definition out a little bit? Because we got a commercial coming up here somewhere. He could talk all the way through to it. But, you know, down in Dallas, Atlanta even things up at 14 and a 27-yard touchdown pass to Andre Rison. Kickoff, a 103-yard kickoff return by Alexander Wright. Dallas is now up 21-14.
Boy, some fireworks taking place in Dallas.
And a couple of pretty good defenses, too. That's really kind of a surprise.
In the meantime, back here, Chris Moore on to punt for Buffalo. Mel Gray, the leading punt return in the NFC back.
Detroit's coming after this one.
Moore gets it away. Gray from the 41. So Detroit will operate with good field position, a 42-yard punt, a 6-yard return.
We talked about Detroit coming after that punt. You see Melvin Jenkins, number 24. He's one of the guys. They're coming at it from the outside with he and Crockett coming from the other side. Good job by Buffalo. You want to say on that catch, though, by Mel Gray, does he have a lot of guts or no sense? Because there were guys bearing down on him, and he gave Detroit good field position by not fair catching that.
I'd like to think it was guts. On 1st down, Kramer. Incomplete and nearly picked off by Nate Odoms. The ball was right there in his hands. The intended receiver was Brett Perryman. Pass too high for him.
And that's what happens a lot of the times when you see a receiver that's out of position when the ball is thrown to him. The ball's thrown kind of high and away or high and above. And watch the receiver's body kind of contort here trying to get the ball. He's at his full extension. Perryman can't bring that down. He deflects it. And the defensive back, that ball's moving so quick, Odoms has no chance to react.
2nd and 10. Sanders trying to cut back, finds a hole, and gets across midfield to about the 49, where, Randy, you gave us a verbal picture of what took place in Dallas. Now let's get the pictures.
All right. right, JB, after Chris Miller hit Andre Rison for a touchdown pass to tie it up, Cowboys' Alexander Wright, 102 yards. That's the longest kickoff return in Cowboy history and the longest in the NFL this year. 21-14 Dallas. Ray Horton has recovered an Atlanta fumble. The Cowboys are driving again, and they're just starting the second quarter, James.
All right, Greg, I hope you have enough scratch paper back there in New York. That looks like it's going to be an all-time high-scoring game. 3rd and 6. Lions 0 for 2 on third down conversions and flags everywhere. And Jeff Wright, number 91, looked to be the man who was the guilty party there.
Well, he's just sort of standing back there on the left side of that Buffalo helmet at midfield with his hands on his hips going, I can't believe I did that.
Offsides, number 91 defense, 5 yards, still third down.
Don't worry, Jeff. You're just one among many once things got going. It was one of those avalanche-type offsides. Watch Wright go. He goes offsides. The rest of the defense goes, what the heck. We'll just go. He's already across. And he's made a big difference to this defense since he's been back. Early this year, one of the first games, does his knee. He's out. And since he's come back, he's been a real stabilizer in the middle of that Buffalo defense. They had Lodish in there at nose tackle, but he's a little undersized at 275 pounds. Wright is a guy that gets quick movement and good size.
3rd and 1 situation. And I tell you, Leonard Smith with the flag on a play that time looked to be back there before the ball was even thought about being snapped.
More of a guess, I think, on Leonard Smith's case. You know, teams get into real rhythms, and they get into tendencies with snap counts. You know, they go on 1, they go on 2. He guessed 1, they were on 2.
Offsides, number 46 defense, 5 yards, first down.
Well, Detroit moving the ball ahead as a result of some miscues by Buffalo. They'll still take it. 8-10. Left in a half. Lions trailing by 7. Wayne Fontes didn't need much of a reason to scream at his team this week to keep him focused. You mentioned at the top of the game, Randy, he thought they were too loose. Sanders trying to get loose and cannot. A gain of only 1, tackled by the rookie out of North Dakota State, Phil Hansen.
And his Lions played I'm saying Wayne Fontes' Lions played a sluggish first half last week against Green Bay. Green Bay led 10-7. They came back, won the game 21-17. But it's not the kind of style of play he wants from his team. He wants his team to get out there and be methodical. Don't make the mistakes that beat you. And when you get your opportunities, take them. So far, they've missed 1 big opportunity for a touchdown on the goal line.
2nd and 9 from the 38 of Buffalo. Kramer smashed from behind by Seals. A gain of 3, but boy, did Kramer pay the price as the 270-pound Seals came crashing on his back.
And 270 pounds for Leon Seals is one of those program weights. Program weights. You know, my program weight was 257. I weighed 275. But watch Kramer. You think quarterbacks, even backup quarterbacks, don't have good instincts? Watch him kind of flinch and start to go down right there. As soon as he feels Seals start to get on him, he starts protecting himself.
3rd and 6 from the 36. 6:30 left in the first half. Lions behind by 7. And Kramer throws an interception to Leonard Smith. 3rd interception of the season for Smith, the 9th-year veteran out of McNeese State.
And in this possession, we've seen Buffalo shut down Barry Sanders and say, beat us with the pass. Well, that pass won't beat anybody. And we take a look at Leonard Smith and his unique haircut. I mean, but Leonard, when you get older and your kids want to do stuff like that, and they'll go, but Dad, we looked at an old tape of you when you played. How come I can't do that to my head?
As Kenneth Davis picks up a gain of only 1. And I'm sure Smith will probably say something like, well, that was the inside of my helmet. They had a pressing plate in there.
There's Barry explaining Lomas Brown there, 75, is giving him a lowdown on where the holes are.
Barry Sanders, 12 carries for 59 yards in the first half. Wayne Font said that Lomas Brown certainly has taken much more of a leadership role this year. One of the reasons for their improvement on 2nd and 9. Right, back with time. Throws it incomplete, a very catchable ball as Al Edwards drops it. Prime time next Saturday night at 9 Eastern right here on CBS Sports. You'll see the first of its college bowls coming up this season, the Blockbuster Bowl, live from Joe Riley Stadium in Miami, Florida. The high-powered Colorado Buffaloes will face the 8th-ranked Crimson Tide of Alabama in a battle between Big 8 and SEC powerhouses. Jim Nance and Dan Fouts will be bringing you the action.
Update you on that Dallas rushing thing with Emmitt Smith. Emmitt Smith's got 8 carries for 51 yards so far in his chase of Barry Sanders.
3rd and 9 from the 29. Right, complete to Davis, and Davis can't get past Spillman. A gain of 5 on the play.
You know, Chris Spielman gets hard knocked an awful lot about not being the fastest linebacker, not being the prettiest looking linebacker. But I tell you what, he's like an alligator. I mean, once he gets a hold of you, he is not letting go. I mean, this guy does not miss very many tackles. If you get near him, he is going to bring you down. He did a great job on Kenneth Davis right there on the left flat that last time.
You know, if you hear other wild men around the league refer to him as intense, you've got some kind of player. Chris Moore punting for the Bills. And Gray will not have a chance to field it as is down at about the 26-yard line. So Detroit, trailing 7-0 to Buffalo, takes over with 4:43 left in the half. Rich Stadium, a packed house here. Buffalo setting a new NFL attendance record with 80,000 on hand. Watching the Bills lead the Lions 7-0 with 4:43 left in the half. And Wayne Fonts wants his team to fire up a bit so they can really try and keep the pressure on Chicago.
And what he's seen his team do is fail on the goal line and 4 shots down at the goal line on offense. And defensively, they have not handled the running game of the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo's controlled the clock and the field.
1st and 10 from the 27. As Kramer throws it at the feet of the intended receiver, Barry Sanders. Well, we mentioned before how there were some cheers in Chicago when Buffalo scored, and that's because Chicago and Detroit are all tied at the top of the NFC Central. Chicago would win the title outright if Detroit loses today.
And if Detroit wins, like you mentioned earlier in the game, James, Chicago has to win that Monday night game against San Francisco. And I live out in the Bay Area, and those 49ers right now consider themselves one of the top 2 or 3 teams in the NFL. And as far as they're concerned, tomorrow night's game is their playoffs.
Well, I'm sure Chicago loves hearing that. 2nd and 10. Incomplete. Mark Kelso batting the ball down that was intended for Mike Farr.
Look at that helmet Mark Kelso wears. I mean, I've seen this thing I don't know how many times, and it still amazes me, this sort of double-coated. You know, Kelso originally thought that he needed a special helmet because he was feeling dizzy and getting headaches when he'd hit people. Though that's natural, folks. When you hit people as hard as Mark Kelso does, you ought to get headaches. But he found out it really is because he was getting migraines. Takes a little medication for it, no more headaches, but he keeps the ball, keeps the helmet there anyway.
A lot of room. He can add a few families up under that helmet. Barry Sanders across the 30 to about the 32, but he's going to be well shy of the first down, a pickup of 5.
On that possession, the Lions played right into the Bills' hands, James. If you don't run a Barry Sanders on 1st or 2nd down, you just run him on a third down draw, you're doing what they want you to do. You're throwing the ball on the first couple of crucial downs, and then you're giving kind of a give up 5 or 6 yards when you're going to make that team punt. They need to get Barry Sanders effective rushing yardage on 1st down to control this ball.
Might help if the passing game were working. Kramer only 2 of 7. Arnold with a low one. And it takes a Buffalo bounce as Gibson grabs it at midfield. Only an 18-yard punt by Arnold. And keeping you abreast of the battle between Emmitt Smith and Barry Sanders, you see the updated numbers here. And Barry, as I mentioned before, Randy, not getting an awful lot of help because Kramer is only 2 of 7 for 42 yards. Hasn't completed a pass since the first drive of Detroit.
And we saw Barry Sanders run very effectively against that 4-2 defense early, first couple of possessions. Since then, defensive coordinator Walt Curry seems to have made a few tweaks and a few adjustments. The outside isn't as open as it used to be.
And not too much of a hole for Kenneth Davis there, although he picked up 3. Will bring up a 2nd and 7. 3:29 left in the first half of play. Kenneth Davis, 13 carries, 84 yards in the first half of play. So trying to do a pretty good job of imitating Thurman Thomas.
That's holding on the house.
The big house.
And that doesn't mean they're going to comp the holding call either. That means it's on Howard Ballard. They're going to go back 10.
Mark Spindler was doing his best to get around the outside of the house.
'75 offense, 10 yards from the previous spot. We'll replay 2nd down.
And we'll see Spindler here. When you run around Howard Ballard, you gotta allow for gravitational pull. Look at Spindler. He's got that rip underneath the arm from the right-hand side. Oh, that's no bones about it. That's an all-pro. That's a Pro Bowl hold there. He's not going to the Pro Bowl, but that's a Pro Bowl hold by Ballard.
Lawrence Pete is out. Kelvin Pritchett is in. 2nd and 17. Gardner, the lone back for the Bills. And Wright throws it complete to McKellar. A huge gain by McKellar inside the 30 for a big first down for Buffalo.
That's Dennis
Gibson down on a play, a 30-yard play from Wright to McKellar.
And that is a big horse at tight end, McKellar. 6'4", 245 pounds. Not only will the Bills bring him from a tight end position, they will actually put this guy out wide in the slots. They think that much of his running and his catching ability, because you see the way he adjusted, rotating his upper body for that ball. That's how a wide receiver adjusts. The lower body keeps running forward. The upper body turns for the ball. And you saw Gibson right there as he was diving for that tackle, got kicked by the back of McKellar's heel. And we talked about how big McKellar is. I mean, heck, you look at Pete Metzelar's. All he is 6'7", 250. I mean, that's all.
Some pretty big tight ends indeed as Gibson gets up to his feet, but we'll have to get a little assistance getting off the field.
And that will hurt the Detroit defense if he's not able to continue. You know, Spielman gets a lot of the credit and a lot of the hype with that Detroit defense, but Gibson is really a steadying influence for the defense. As hyper and as crazy as Spielman is, Gibson is really the guy you look at in that defense to make the difference. We'll take a look. Watch it, Garner come in from the left. Right there, right into the hip and left leg of Dennis Gibson.
And that's been the story for Detroit all season long, overcoming injuries as yet another player goes down. 1st and 10 Buffalo. Davis again trying to turn the corner, and Davis brought down from behind by Chris Spielman. A gain of only 2, as this ought to take us down to the 2-minute warning of the first half. And Dennis Gibson feeling the inside of that knee. His team trails by 7.
This guy's in a seasonal mood too. The seasonal mood to kind of sit, because Jim Kelly there talking on the sideline with some of the assistant coaches is not going to be in this game.
2nd and 8 from the 26. Right. Flushed out. Sacked by Dan Owens. Big Dan Owens with his 6th sack of the season, and Owens just had praise heaped upon him by Chris Spielman and others as the best lineman right now for the Lions.
And Wayne Fonts pointed out to us that this Dan Owens, number 90, is his best defensive lineman consistently right now. Owens lined up over Wolford, 69, comes all the way around. Now watch the acceleration that 90 will make at the end of this play. Well, look at Owens come out of nowhere, accelerates off the field, and cuts off Frank Reich's options by coming on him so quick. And even gets a little danced in without a penalty.
A loss of 18 on a play will bring up a 3rd and 26 with a minute and 25 left in the half. Buffalo leading 7-zip. Right under pressure again. Throws it complete. And Davis getting it up near the 35, a pickup of about 10.
You see Dennis Gibson leaving the field with some of the medical personnel of the Detroit Lions. He got that left knee bent around a little bit as they were examining it. You see him lifting that pad up to take a look at that inside of that left knee.
You know, Wayne Fonts talked a lot about the injuries on his team as well, Randy. He said he was a little frustrated that so many people were focusing on the 4 players for the Bills who are being kept out. He says, hey, look at all the injuries we've had to overcome all season long.
Oh, exactly. Not only the Mike Utley tragedy, but Wayne Fonts deals with losing Mike Cofer. He deals with losing Rodney Peete in their biggest game. He has to deal with Eric Sanders, who gets hurt 2 weeks ago. He has to deal with Jerry Ball, who gets hurt in the same game as Sanders. I mean, how about Wayne's 5 guys that aren't in this game? How important are they to the Lions? And in this situation, you got to think, and they are, Buffalo is going to punt this ball. It would be about a 53-yard field goal. And with the erratic behavior kicking-wise that Scott Norwood's had so far this year, they're going to try it. Okay.
Well, he has.
Norwood is out there. I thought it was the punt team.
He has a season long of 52, that against the Jets in New York in Game 3.
2 weeks ago against the Raiders, he missed all sorts of kicks, and they were all over the stadium.
And this one is no good. And Randy, we talked about that wind swirls down on the field, so certainly that had to be a factor.
Well, what you don't understand if you've never been in this stadium is as you look down in the field, as we're showing you the field, we are at ground level. This stadium is dug down into the ground.
60 feet to be exact.
So that if the wind would appear by the flags to be blowing from left to right, sure, it's blowing from left to right 60 feet above the field. But once it gets down in this bowl, it swirls and moves around.
Kramer overthrows by a huge margin. Willie Green. 58 seconds left in a half, and don't forget, we'll be taking you back to New York where Greg and Terry will bring you up to date on everything taking place around the league, set the playoff scenario for you.
Now, James, we talked about the importance of the Tampa Bay-Indianapolis game, which sounds kind of funny to say, the importance of Indianapolis to win to get those first 2 picks. Indianapolis has picked off the Tampa Bay Buccaneer quarterback so far in the first half 5 times today.
Incomplete to Mike Farr as Farr slipped.
And his pass intended for Mike Farr is incomplete.
Eric Kramer continuing to have some difficulties with his receivers. He's only 2 of 9, missed his last 7 passes.
And Buffalo's got to be extremely happy about their game plan working out so far in this second quarter. Early in the half, they had trouble with Barry Sanders. They've adjusted their defense. They've stopped down Sanders, and they've told Eric Kramer, come on, beat us throwing the ball. So far, this passing offense of the Detroit Lions in the better part of this first half of the second quarter has looked inept.
3rd and 10. Lions 0 of 4 on 3rd down. Incomplete. Intending to hit Barry Sanders. Kramer now has missed his last 8.
You got to think offensive coordinator Dave Levy and Wayne Fonts are going to get this team in the locker room at halftime and point out to the offense, hey guys, what we saw in the first half, that was not a playoff team offense. You play it like this in the playoffs offensively, you are going to be in a world of hurt, and it's going to be a short visit to the playoffs.
Jim Arnold, who had a sensational game last week against the Packers, has this one caught in that swirling wind as well, but it takes a Lions bounce and rolls to the 31 with 36 seconds left in the first half. Next Saturday at 1:30 Eastern, there's a terrific NCAA women's basketball doubleheader on CBS featuring 4 top 10 teams in the Big Ten SEC Challenge. First, number 9 Penn State faces reigning national champion and 3rd-ranked Tennessee. Then 5th-ranked Iowa takes on number 4 Vanderbilt. That'll be coming your way next Saturday right here on CBS. Ably directed
by our own Kathy Barretta.
Without a doubt. Wayne Fonts hoping that he'll be able to direct his troops a little better in the second half. Right. Low and incomplete to Carwell Gardner.
Carwell Gardner is incomplete.
Well, Kramer feels, as a matter of fact, he reacted a little strongly to suggestions that maybe his job is just to get out there and not lose the game. He wants to be more proactive and creative, but Randy, he's got to be just solid from a fundamental standpoint right now.
I think some guys, when they get playing time, forget that they're basically backups. You know, and a backup's job is not to mess things up. Kramer's a good quarterback, but he's not a Jim Keller. His job is to get his ball safely to Barry Sanders, safely to the receivers, and to come back here in this second half and direct this offense very coolly and very calmly, and in the methodical style that he's watched Frank Reich, the Buffalo backup, direct the Buffalo offense.
Frank Reich from a football family. Coach Levy says he is in fact a very bright man on the field. And that's the end of the first half with the score Buffalo 7, Detroit nothing.
End of the half, Buffalo 7, Detroit nothing.
To New York and Greg after this.
CBS Sports coverage of the National Football League is sponsored by Dodge, a division of the Chrysler Corporation, proud sponsor of the 1992 U.S. Olympic team. Kodak Gold Film, show your true colors. And by Budweiser, the king of beers, to remind you friends know when to say when. The NFL Today Dockers Halftime Report is sponsored by Levi's Dockers. Relax, you're among friends.
Welcome back to our studios in New York, everyone. Greg Gumbel along with Terry Bradshaw, and season's greetings to you all. At halftime at Rich Stadium, the Bills are leading the Detroit Lions by a score of 7-0. And more significantly, Barry Sanders with 64 yards today is leading the league in rushing with 1,504 yards. Emmitt Smith has 80 yards today, and he has 1,483. Thurman Thomas has not seen action yet for Buffalo today. They lead Detroit 7-0 at halftime. Now, in Texas Stadium, the Dallas Cowboys lead Atlanta 24-17 with just under 3.5 minutes to play in the first half of this game. And the Cowboy fans out in the bad weather saw Chris Miller hit Andre Rison.
Lots of time, Greg. Bad field conditions. You have to be very careful. You get a man coverage, you can just run away from him in those conditions. And that's what happened then. Rison, nice job.
Now, remember the turning point last week for Dallas, Kelvin Martin's punt return against the Eagles. After Atlanta tied this game at 14, Alexander Wright returned the kickoff 102 yards. That is a Dallas Cowboys team record. That is the longest kickoff return in the NFL this year. And at halftime, Dallas leads it by a score of 24-17. If Atlanta loses, they will play the Saints next week, and Dallas will be playing either Detroit or Chicago. But under conditions like they have in Dallas today, you said you throw all day long.
Let me show you something. What happens when you have bad weather, it normally takes away aggressive defense. You don't normally blitz. If you do, you put your corners in man for man. I want to show you something. These are linebackers. Here's Del Rio in the middle. Count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6 men by the Cowboys rushing. Only 5 blockers by the Falcons, but they keep this back in to help out Miller. This guy in blitzing conditions reads the quarterback. If he looks here, he holds him. If he looks here, he goes here. Now, watch what Miller does. There's the blitz. Notice to the outside. Up the middle comes Del Rio to the outside. That keeps the back in. Miller peeks. Ah, there's the little peek. That froze the free safety. Miller looks to the outside and says, okay, there you are. Thank you, Michael Haynes. Go ahead and get your 10th TD of the year. Now, here comes the free safety. He had to stay in the middle. Bad weather. You can't hardly blitz in bad weather. Normally, it forces you to play very soft defensively.
41 points in that game already, still 2:20 to play in the first half. The Jets and the Dolphins playing for the final wild card spot in the AFC. Dan Marino hit Mark Clayton 18 yards, touchdown pass on the last play of the first half, and that game is tied at 7. Indianapolis at Tampa Bay, it's 3-0 Colts in the second quarter. Cleveland and the Pittsburgh Steelers are tied at 3 in the second quarter, and the Bengals are leading the New England Patriots 14-7 as they approach halftime. In Green Bay, the Packers have made it official. Lindy Infante has been relieved of his head coaching duties with 3 years and more than $1.5 million remaining on his guaranteed contract.
Gentlemen, I have a statement I'd like to read. I met this morning with Lindy Infante to inform him that his contract as head coach of the Green Bay Packers is being terminated.
You're willing to step out there and put your neck on the line, and you do everything you possibly can to get that done. You can look anybody in the face, you can look anybody in the eye, but most importantly, you can look yourself in the mirror and you can say, I gave it everything I had.
I plan to contact a lot of people, but I will contact Bill Parcells, yes.
Packers finished 4-12 this year. Now, the New Orleans Saints are in the playoffs, and depending upon what the Falcons do in Dallas and what the Saints do later in Phoenix, Jim Mora's team still could end the day with their first ever NFC West crown. Irv Cross is at Sun Devil Stadium with more.
I'm in the New Orleans Saints locker room hours before kickoff for the game here in Phoenix against the Cardinals. You can see helmets and uniforms are ready to go. The athletes will be here shortly. The Saints, who have the reputation for being highly focused on their opponents from week to week, will undoubtedly be distracted somewhat by the results of the game in Dallas where the Atlanta Falcons are playing. If Atlanta loses that game, the Saints, if they win here, would win their first ever Western Division championship. And Sam Mills said he'd love to have Atlanta in the Dome next week. Of course, revenge is the motive here. And last night I talked to Pat Swelling and Sam Mills about 3 linebackers from the same team starting for the Pro Bowl for the very first time.
No, I didn't. I wasn't aware of that. You know, that's a great feeling to have all 3 guys in there.
That's quite an accomplishment. Congratulations, Steve.
Thank you.
You know, when you stop and look at that, though, you know, Terry Bradshaw works on the NFL Today for us. Is very proud of the things that the Steelers did when he was there. Won 4 Super Bowls, had a great defense. But even those great Steeler teams didn't put 3 linebackers in the Pro Bowl as starters.
Well, it's great for us, and we only wish that we could have got Ricky Jackson there also, and then it'd been a clean sweep. But we're happy to be in the Pro Bowl and be starters. But like I said, we wish we could have got Ricky in there because he had a great year, and we just were hoping that he'd make it also.
A major game note for today's game, starting quarterback Bobby Hebert, who has a bruised right shoulder and had a sensational game Monday night, told us last night his right shoulder is still sore, but he can't hurt it any more than it is now, and he will play today.
All right, Irv, thanks very much, and we'll send you back to Rich Stadium in Buffalo as the NFL continues on CBS after this word from your local station.
Enjoy the lights before Christmas at the Toledo Zoo.
Here in Orchard Park, New York, Buffalo Bills leading the Lions at half 7-0. And Randy, I think, first of all, some of the kudos in the first half have to go throughout our technical crew. They did a simply marvelous job. It normally takes about a day and a half to get everything powered up. We lost power with about 40 minutes to game time, and these guys and ladies got us up and running. Magnificent job.
No truck, no camera, no nothing. 40 minutes was amazing. It was kind of like the way Detroit's offense started. Started out good. No power. No, they didn't have a truck. They didn't have a camera or nothing for most of the first half.
The only power that Detroit had in the first half was an 82-yard drive on their first possession. Since then, only 27 yards. But the passing game simply is not there.
And we brought up the point in the first when they saw this. Why doesn't Barry Sanders have the ball here? You ran him left on first down. You snuck Eric Kramer twice on second and third down. And then he takes the ball on an option. I don't think that's what you want to do. You got to get the ball into Barry Sanders' hands as much as possible if you're going to win here in the second half.
The wind is not helping the passing game of Detroit, but they'll have to get on track somehow. We'll find out when the second half starts in a moment.
CBS Sports coverage of the National Football League is sponsored by Ford and your Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately? Nintendo, get your daily dose of fun with Game Boy. Have you had your fun today? And by Coors Light, the Silver Bullet is the right beer now.
A good-looking sight there, Lake Erie. Lapping at the shores here of Buffalo.
You don't see too many parasailers out there, do you? Not too many people out there on the boards and the sails.
And you know, I've seen some people out in worse weather, and this is actually very good here in Buffalo.
Good.
Indeed it is.
This is autumnal. This is spring.
Emmitt Smith moving dangerously close to Barry Sanders with N11. So Emmitt Smith doing the job. Boy, they've got a real shootout going on down there in Dallas between the Falcons and the Cowboys.
Offense, and more offense. And that's the key here in the game we got here. Buffalo's got this methodical offense working with Frank Reich, running the ball and hitting crucial passes. So far, except for the first drive, Eric Kramer and the Detroit Lions have not been able to take advantage of throwing the ball. And Wayne Fontes has got to be telling his quarterback there, look, first half, forget it. Wipe it away. It doesn't matter. We're only down by one score. We're one play away from a tie game. Don't let this enter into your mind.
That's the good message. And we saw that message earlier from Leonard Smith. Brad Alwiso.
CBS Sports coverage of the National Football League is sponsored by Ford and your Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately? Nintendo, get your daily dose of fun with Game Boy. Have you had your fun today? And by Coors Light, the Silver Bullet is the right beer now.
A good-looking sight there, Lake Erie. Lapping at the shores here of Buffalo.
You don't see too many parasailers out there, do you? Not too many people out there on the boards and the sails.
And you know, I've seen some people out in worse weather, and this is actually very good here in Buffalo.
Good.
Indeed it is.
This is autumnal. This is spring.
Emmitt Smith moving dangerously close to Barry Sanders with N11. So Emmitt Smith doing the job. Boy, they've got a real shootout going on down there in Dallas between the Falcons and the Cowboys.
Offense, and more offense. And that's the key here in the game we got here. Buffalo's got this methodical offense working with Frank Reich, running the ball and hitting crucial passes. So far, except for the first drive, Eric Kramer and the Detroit Lions have not been able to take advantage of throwing the ball. And Wayne Fontes has got to be telling his quarterback there, look, first half, forget it. Wipe it away. It doesn't matter. We're only down by one score. We're one play away from a tie game. Don't let this enter into your mind.
That's the good message. And we saw that message earlier from Leonard Smith. Brad Alwiso kicking into the wind. And this one is out of bounds. So from the 35, it will be. And Buffalo going into the wind that Detroit had to deal with in the first half. Eric Kramer.
Buffalo, by kicking that way, is deferred, giving Detroit in this offense. You see what they did. 3 punts, an interception, and a goal line stand by the Buffalo defense. Now this Detroit Lion offense has the win here. If they're going to get this passing game going, it's going to be now in the third quarter with the win.
Wayne Fontes went through a similar scenario last week in Green Bay. 1st and 10 from the 35, and Sanders grabbed and dropped. No gain on the play as Jeff Wright, all 270 pounds of him, grabbed Sanders.
Well, Wright is a solid 270. I mean, he's a 270 and plays a 285 because he is so strong. But what makes him a special nose guard is his ability to run around a center. He can run around a block and make a play. And there's not a lot of nose guards in this league that can run around blockers and still make plays.
2nd and 10. This time it looks like the Detroit players understand the call. Let's see if they can execute it. Incomplete as Kramer throwing high again, intended receiver, Willie Green. Kramer just doesn't have the knack right now. 2 of 11. Thus far, only 42 yards. And Buffalo Buffalo said, hey, let Kramer beat us, and right now that's a pretty good tactic.
Their philosophy going in was stop Barry Sanders, and if Eric Kramer can beat us throwing the ball, they deserve to win.
5 DBs in for the Bills. Cliff Hicks in. Ray Bentley is out. 3rd and 10. Lions 0 for 5 on 3rd down. Incomplete as Brent Perryman tried to catch it with the shoulder pass.
And that was a nicely thrown ball by Kramer, avoiding the rush. The blitz was on. The blitz falls down, got the ball into Perryman's hand, and Perryman was thinking down the field. He had some open distances in front of him, but he forgot one small detail, holding on to the ball.
And judging by his reaction, he clearly knows that was a very catchable ball. So Jim Arnold comes on to punt again. His 4th punt of the afternoon. Clifford Hicks back. Hicks trying to slow up a few people as the ball, of course, went out of bounds. So it looks like Buffalo will take over at about the 31. NFC wildcard game will be coming your way next Sunday here on CBS. You'll have to check your local listings to find out the game time and also who.
There's a good reason there are no logos on those 2 helmets there.
But judging by the helmets, of course, it will be very serious action. And a half hour before kickoff time, tune into the last word before kickoff, the NFL Today Show. Marv Levy, head coach of the Buffalo Bills, a great delegator of responsibility. His coaching staff loves it that way. Frank Reich keeping the ball on the ground as Kenneth Davis takes it ahead for a few. Kenneth Davis probably has quite a few people cheering for him. He's got 52 nieces and nephews, so I think he's got a nice cheering section all by himself.
Wow. Tampa Bay, you see, in spite of those 5 interceptions, out ahead 7-3 on Indianapolis. Cincinnati on New England, 21-7. Sam White has got the Bengals fired up in that getaway game.
Draft derby indeed. 2nd and 8, Reich going to the air. Incomplete as Gardner cannot hold it again. Gardner's had some trouble trying to hold on to the ball. A couple of good passes his way, and the big fullback has not been able to grab the handle.
We talked about the importance of that Indianapolis-Tampa game, and that shows it to you right there. And Tampa Bay obviously has to get that pick up to Indianapolis. Cincinnati sitting where they are. Boy, the big surprise was the LA Rams this year. You know, they fell last year to 5-11. This year, 3-12. John Robinson resigns this week. But I tell you, with Robinson out now, Lindy and Fonnie's out, don't think that's the end of it. I know they talked about it on NFL Today. This is going to be, I think, one of the biggest turnover years in NFL history.
Might be as many as 9. And a sack that time, give it credit to Jeff Hunter. The former Buffalo Bill comes in for his 6th sack.
Doing his best Bruce Smith imitation after a sack there, beating on his chest and letting the crowd know just how much fun it is to be back here in Buffalo.
I think he had a message in that one.
Let's take a look at it again. Here they come. This is a jailbreak, guys. You're talking not only does Hayworth and Hunter and Pritchett, I mean, they had a whole group coming out. Dan Owens there helping the celebration. Think he's excited?
First time this season, Frank Reich has been sacked. Obviously, he's seen limited duty. Nonetheless, first sack. And not a good punt going into the wind. So the Lions will operate with excellent field position. As Butch rolled down to a 26-yard punt only, Lions will try to get something going. With Jim Kelly and others out, Buffalo nursing just a 7-point lead over Detroit, but the players who are getting the rest right now have to be pleased with the way the team is playing overall.
Well, not only, Thurman Thomas right there, and a guy that started the game but is now out and been replaced by Hanson. Number 90 is Bruce Smith. Well, you'll have to take our word for it there, folks. That is Bruce Smith in the hood and the hat and everything else. And it's a good idea to rest, I think, of Bruce Smith. He started the game, he played some, and he got a good performance and he's resting his knee.
You mean you couldn't tell that was Bruce Smith? Sanders. You can tell that's Barry Sanders. As Barry Sanders juking his way ahead for the first down. An 11-yard scamper by Barry Sanders. And I'm sure Steve Tasker will want to have his name recognized as one of those out. Steve Tasker, Pro Bowler this year on special teams.
And it's a funny thing, you know, the next best special teams guy on these Buffalo Bills isn't a defensive back, isn't a wide receiver, isn't a running back. It's a defensive lineman, Mark Pike. Big 94 can get down the field.
8 players from Buffalo represented on this year's Pro Bowl team. Sanders scoots one way, comes back, has another first down. Barry Sanders jumped to a hole that closed up too quickly and then came back. Now there is a flag at about the 26-yard line.
Holding on the Lions will rub that one out.
Boy, what a shame. What a shame. A hole that Sanders maybe thought was there, jumped back, Randy, and then made plenty of room. First Detroit penalty.
Holding. 82 offense. 10 yards. Still first down.
Well, you don't expect a wide receiver. Robert Clark got held for holding on that running play. But a lot of guys get run out of position with a Barry Sanders. Watch this. This play's supposed to hit up inside. He stops. Guys get out of position, and that's when people hold, when they get caught out of position. And nobody's less used to run blocking than a wide receiver.
First and 15, Sanders resting. DJ Dozier in on the play action. Interception as Kramer throws it to Darryl Talley. Talley with his 5th interception of the season.
The way Eric Kramer's playing right now after his first half, and with this kind of a start, dumping this ball blindly into the hands of Darryl Talley, you got to wonder, will we see Wayne Fontes bring in an Andre Ware for a little spark here in the second half?
I was just about to ask you if you thought that might happen, especially given Wayne said Andre Ware had a good week of practice.
Well, watch the rush. Bentley, 50, comes from his inside linebacker position. Now, Kramer's trying to get this away, but where's it going? Dallafor, 67's out there. He couldn't catch it. Lomas Brown was out there with 75 to tackle. He can't catch it, and Tennell was way out in front of him, the tight end.
From midfield, first and 10, Buffalo. And Davis, as it's been all day long. And Davis, no gain on the play. 11:40 left in the third quarter play. Buffalo on top, 7-0. Tracy Hayworth on the tackle.
And the Detroit defense doing something there they haven't done in the first half to Kenneth Davis, and that's swarm him and surround him. See Darryl Talley? Look at Darryl Talley's got his Spider-Man blues on underneath.
A rather quiet guy, huh?
It's kind of a pad the stats type thing. Yeah, you were the right guy in the right place.
Second and 10. To the big tight end, Metzelaars. And Metzelaars will be about 2.5, maybe 3 yards shy of the first down marker. Needed to get to the 40.
And we've seen 3rd and 3, 3rd and short type situations when Buffalo passes, hitting Andre Reed, crossing, usually from the far side, dragging him across underneath the coverages of the Detroit Lions.
Happy New Year. So it'll be 3rd and 3 for Buffalo. Ball on the 43. And Davis gets the first down, plus about 4. Benny Blades finally running them out of bounds. Kenneth Davis getting himself one whale of a workout today, as he has been the offense. Run Davis right, run him left, run him up the middle. Either way, he's got 97 yards on 17 carries for the afternoon.
Here it is again, the big left side. Farrat coming out with Ballard. Farrat 59, Ballard 75. Just gives Kenneth Davis the corner. You know, he's got 97 yards, and down in Dallas, Emmitt Smith has 90, and Barry Sanders has 80 here in Buffalo.
First and 10 from the 34 of Detroit. 9:47 left in the third, and this is Davis again. And Davis somehow, second and third effort, gets him down near the 30. There is a flag on the far side of the field. Benny Blades on the tackle. Davis is saying he was grabbed by the face mask. And he's right.
Indication of a 5-yard face mask penalty.
Yeah, the 5-yard face mask will be tacked on to the end of the play. It'll still be first down. And approximately 1 yard.
We talked about Emmitt Smith and what he's doing. You see he's 27 yards behind Barry Sanders. Barry getting popping a few good ones early in the second half here. This will go right down to the wire because this Buffalo Bills defense is going to start tightening the screws, I think, on Barry Sanders and making whoever's at quarterback for Detroit throw the ball.
First and 1, and Davis. Well, from up here, it looks like he may have it. Let's see where they mark it. Wants to have a measurement.
Stretch that chain ain't going to stretch. I mean, once you get it out to the end, it ain't going to get any longer. I like that. Oh, you think he doesn't get a little excited? He's on the sideline saying, "What down is it?"
Let me get the facts straight. As I mentioned, Levy is a great delegator. The coaches love it. I mean, he gives them free rein to do what they do well, and they do it very well.
Look at Miami out in front of the Jets. That's going to decide the last AFC wildcard spot. Buffalo about two chain links short of the first down here.
Second and 2 chain links.
Good time to go up top.
Out of the eye. Instead it's Davis, but there's a flag in the backfield.
Little motion.
They might
be 5 yards and 2 chain links after this one.
And if it is Metzelaars, he's a pretty big target. Nothing subtle about him at all.
Illegal motion. Number 88 offense. 5 yards. Still second down.
And that is the 6'7", 250-pound tight end, at least program weight.
The only guy in that Buffalo huddle that can actually look Ballard in the eye.
That's about all. Not around him.
That's what I talked about. Happening.
It's a big line to run behind. As we take a look at Glenn Parker.
Parker doing a good job subbing in for John Davis, offensive guard, injured his knee a few weeks back.
Second and 6 from the 30, and it's complete for the first down. Excellent catch by Mike Alexander, a second-year player out of Penn State.
And Alexander is more along the lines of a James Lofton mold, size-wise. Lofton, of course, not playing in this game with that sprained foot. Alexander, 6'3", 210 pounds. A big, physical, fast type of a wide receiver. Lofton much similar, but Lofton's a guy that legitimately used to have world-class speed. Now he's just fast. I mean, people forget James Lofton at one time when he was at Stanford had the longest long jump in the world one year. Jumped over 27 feet in the long jump. Alexander is the same size, maybe not quite as great an athlete though.
First and 10 from the 23, and Buffalo, seeing something that it doesn't like, calls a timeout. That'll leave them with 2. Still 7-0 here in Buffalo. Bills lead it as you take a look at James Lofton standing his back to us, and he was hoping to get a record today if he could have played.
And not just any record. We're talking to become the all-time leader in NFL history in receiving yards, to pass up Steve Largent. Lofton
just 55 yards shy of that as White drops back to pass. going to the end zone. Incomplete. And William White was right there step for step with Mike Alexander. So a good job by William White, the fifth-year safety out of Ohio State.
Couldn't really tell there, James, if that ball was thrown short and low or was knocked down by the wind. Because Reich, ideally, you ought to think, has to put this ball up high and let Alexander run out underneath it. Oh, William White should have had that one.
Reich 9 of 16 for 107 yards. 2nd and 10. Ball at the 23. 7:43 left in the third. Bills on top, 7-zip. And this is Davis again. And Davis runs into a wall, led by Chris Spielman and assisted by Benny Blades. A gain of 4 on the play. What Davis ought to feel just a little sore come tomorrow.
Oh, James, we talked about what kind of a job this guy's done. And people forget, this guy did a lot of running in Green Bay. It wasn't like he was just sitting around not gathering dust. I mean, the guy had a good opportunity. In fact, his biggest rushing day ever was against these same Detroit Lions when he was a Green Bay Packer. 129 yards.
And he's got 105 today. So he's approaching it. 3rd and 6 from the 19. This is Davis again. Slips. And not much doing by Davis on that particular carry. As a matter of fact, a good effort just to get back to the line of scrimmage. Benny Blades on the tackle.
And this kick here, this field goal ought to be an adventure. Into this wind like this, it's going to be about a 37-yard field goal. But remember, the wind is swirling, and if there is any direct blowing wind, it's going right into Norwood's face.
So Norwood comes on to attempt a 37-yard field goal, but as you indicated, into a swirling wind.
And as he did in Super Bowl 25, when he misses them, he tends to push them out right.
And it looks like that again, to the right again, as Scott Norwood misses the 37-yarder, and Wayne Fontes and the Lions still have a shot.
We talked about some of the injured Buffalo players not playing because they were hurt. Well, head coach Marv Levy got hit by Steve Tasker, the special teamer, last week on the sideline. He isn't going to let that bother him. He says, hey, we'll spit on it. We'll put a little tape on it. I'm ready to go. I'm not coming out.
When the head coach sets the example, you have no choice but to follow his lead.
And as the head coach, he's telling the trainer how to tape his leg.
He's been around long enough to know how. Complete to Sanders. And Sanders trying to reverse field. Picks up about 7. You take a look at Levy. He is limping a little bit. You know, that was a pretty hard hit that he took from Tasker, who was going full bore when he ran out of bounds and ran into Marv Levy.
And if it's cold and your leg hurts, you tape something on it, especially you tape it a little bit too tight, it'll actually hurt more than it did before you got it taped. I always like to see those coaches playing with pain, though. As a former player, it does my heart good.
From the 27, Sanders on 2nd and 3. Escaping tackles again. And picking up just 1. So he'll be 2 yards shy of the first down. Cornelius Bennett on the stop. Now, speaking of Cornelius Bennett, he got some awfully high praise from Coach Levy, talking about his movement and quickness.
Well, actually, they want to put Cornelius Bennett, and they have a lot today, man-on-man with Barry Sanders. And what a kind of a compliment is that to a guy at 6'3", 235 pounds, that you have to stay with the best running back. I said running back. Best all-around back, probably Thurman Thomas. Best running back with the ball is Barry Sanders, and they want Bennett to stay with him.
And Kramer again was going for the keeper himself to get to the first down line and did not. And Randy, I guess we still must scratch our heads wondering why Kramer on that. It didn't work the first half twice, and you got Sanders back there.
I don't know who's calling these plays, but whoever it is, maybe they're trying to hide their real offense for the playoff game. And you know, Wayne, your playoff game is going to be next week as a wild card team if your team doesn't get it in gear and win this.
And you know, look at him, and he's yelling. Wayne wants to know who made that call as well. He went over to his offensive coordinator, asked Kramer, who made the call? What was the call? Well, the call now is for a punt with 3:56 left in the third quarter. And Detroit going with the win.
And when you're a backup quarterback, we have a flag down on the field. When you're a starting quarterback, a Jim Kelly, they have license to play with the game plan. They have license to change things around. If that wasn't a miscommunication on Eric Kramer's fault, where he just didn't understand the call, if he changed that thing, you got to wonder. I mean, that's a situation you can put yourself in some permanent hot water by making that kind of independent decision.
Well, jokingly, we were asking Kramer if he has the leverage, the latitude, if you will, to go over and suggest some plays last week.
Yeah, you only stretch input so far, though. You know?
His answer was, no, they usually tell me to shut up. Low snap off the carpet, and Arnold gets it away. Hicks from the 33.
They've got a wall set up. Nope.
And runs into Victor Jones at about the 48. A 44-yard punt, a 14-yard return. Good field position for the Bills when we come back.
You're watching CBS Sports coverage of the National Football League.
Well, it's an understatement, but not a good afternoon for Kramer. 3 for 14 for 49 yards and 2 interceptions. And harken back to the question you asked earlier, might we see Andre Ware?
You know, Wayne Fonz told us that on Thursday, Herman Moore, Reggie Barrett, and Andre Ware, the second-team quarterback, put on a show at practice in Detroit. There's been a speculation that Andre Ware may see action in the World League of American Football to get him some experience. Well, why wait till he's playing with Barcelona or whoever? The Lions need some spark now at quarterback. Why not put an Andre Ware in now at quarterback?
And couldn't ask for more to only be trailing 7-0. 3:20 left in the third. First and 10 from the 47 for Buffalo. As usual, Davis. And Davis running across midfield to the 49. A gain of 4 will bring up a 2nd and 6. Live at Rich Stadium here in Orchard Park, New York. A packed house on hand to see the AFC East champion Buffalo Bills hosting the 11-4 Detroit Lions. Buffalo leads it, nursing only a 7-point lead with 2:50 left in the third quarter of play. Timeouts remaining. Buffalo with 2, Detroit with 3. 2nd and 6.
Kenneth Davis has 108 yards rushing, equaling his Buffalo high against Indianapolis this year.
And Mitch Farrat will be the culprit here as he moved at least a 2.5 seconds before the snap. Mitch Farrat, a backup lineman, getting some action here.
59 offense, moving prior to the snap, 5 yards, still 2nd down.
Well, he and fellow guard Parker get a lot of pub for their love of the Harley Davidson motorcycle. You see these two big guys and running around their leathers, riding their bikes. Do a great job for Thurman Thomas, though. This whole offensive line, even the backups, have contributed to the season Thurman Thomas has had.
2nd and 11 from the 46. 3 wideouts. Davis one at the slot. This is Carwell Gardner. And Gardner taking it up to about the 49. As we keep you abreast of the rushing leaders chasing the NFL rushing title.
27 yards now separating Sanders and Smith. And with these kind of running backs, that's 1 run. That's half of 1 run. Not even a whole run for these guys. You give a guy like Barry Sanders, Aaron Smith, they have got the long, big play opportunity. But right now, today, the running back of the day isn't Evan Smith. It isn't Barry Sanders. Right now, it's Kenneth Davis.
And Kenneth Davis doing an excellent job. On 3rd and 7, right to pass. And my goodness, Edwards held on to the pass, shy of the first down, though, but a good hit by Ray Crockett.
Good timing by Crockett because he and the ball arrived almost simultaneously. There's not too much of a difference here between when that ball gets there and when Crockett does. Fans don't like the fact that Buffalo is going to be punting, but it's because of a nice play by Crockett. Good job by the Detroit defense making up for that call, that sneak on 3rd and short earlier by Kramer and the Detroit Lions. Buffalo unable to take advantage of some great field position.
Buffalo about a half a yard shy of what's necessary for the first down, but decide not to go for it as Chris Moore comes on to punt to the NFC's leading punt returner, Mel Gray, and a low one and out of bounds at about the 27, making the 28-yard line.
Kind of low left and stinky.
And a little extracurricular activity taking place between Mark Pike.
And a flag is down on top of that.
Mark Pike and Sheldon White going at it.
This is Sheldon White. Maybe you got to check Sheldon White's head. Sheldon White is calling Pike out. Like, come on. It's awful easy to say that with an official standing between you.
Yeah, but he was doing that backpedaling too. Only a 14-yard punt.
This is crucial for Detroit as the snowballs start coming out of the stands from these fans, and the penalty is against Detroit because it's going to push them back into some terrible field position.
Terrible field position for a couple of reasons. The obvious, and as you mentioned, the fans on this end zone, the left end zone, have been pelting the players with snowballs. If you take a look at the field there, you can see some of the snowballs being thrown.
And there's some of them coming out of the stands now. You know, that looks cute, but that is dangerous because that snow that's been on the ground, in the stands here, is hard, compacted snow.
Number 25, unnecessary roughness, half the distance to the goal. It'll be 1st and 10.
So the ball is marked at the 15, and don't forget, coming up next Saturday, it'll be NCAA women's basketball coming your way, a doubleheader here on CBS. 4 of the top 10 teams in the Big Ten SEC Challenge. Penn State facing the reigning national champion, Tennessee, ranked number 3. Then it'll be the 5th ranked Iowa. Hawkeyes taking on number 4 Vanderbilt. On 1st and 10, Kramer has a wide open Willie Green for the first down up near midfield.
No, he was
down by contact. The fans wanted a fumble, as did Nate Odoms.
This will bring out a few more snowballs out of the stands, but he was clearly down before that ball came out.
A 33-yard pass play as Green has yet to get up. Randy, we talked about this new surface just briefly at the top of the show, and many of the players say it has no give. There's no slide on this turf at all.
Especially if you land on something like the ball or shoulder. Watch Green. That ball is in it. That ball was pressed against his body. He had control of that ball. It did not come out until after he hit the ground. Watch this. He's got control now. Then it comes out.
Well, Tom White agrees with you.
He's got this ball. Watch. It's pressed against his body. He's got it. Now it comes out. You don't have to have the classic 2 hands wrapped around it holding the laces to have possession. If you've got the ball and you have clear control, which he did there, it is a catch. Just the spark this Detroit Lion offense needed. They needed something, a little momentum builder.
This will be the last play of the 3rd quarter as Kramer looking left, coming back to the right, throws it complete to Herman Moore for a first down at the 30.
And that'll be the last pass with the win for Detroit in this game. They'll be going into the win.
Important note, a 22-yard pickup. That's the end of the 3rd quarter with the score, Buffalo leading by only 7. Our coverage will continue after this message from your local station. You're watching the NFL on CBS.
And here at the start of the 4th quarter, Wayne Fontes trying to get his quarterback pumped up. Senses a little body language. Come on, Eric. We're in this thing. Keep your head in this thing.
And they are, Randy, trailing by only 7. Start of the 4th quarter. 1st and 10. And it's complete to Sanders. And Sanders. First down inside the 20. Ball will be marked at the 19. Right now, let's go back to New York for an NFL Today update. All right.
right, JB, in Dallas, what a game going. Watch Atlanta's Chris Miller from 43 yards out. Second touchdown connection of the day with Michael Haynes. Atlanta leads at 27-24. They are looking to clinch the AFC West with a win, James.
All right, Greg, and I tell you, you and Greg sound like, you and Terry sound like you're having as much fun back there in New York watching that one as well. Wayne Fonts maybe hasn't been as pleased here, but his team still has a great shot at it. And there's Perryman pushed out of bounds at the 10. First catch of the afternoon for Brett Perryman, who came into the game leading all receivers for Detroit.
And you made a great point earlier, James. Buffalo has allowed Detroit to stay in this game. Only ahead 7-0. They got a few sparks. They got a few big plays. If they let Detroit Lions score here, I think they're asking for trouble, because this young Detroit Lions team takes very little to get excited about. They can go from doldrums to hysteria quickly.
2nd and 1 from the 9. Sanders has the first down and is near the goal line, about a yard shy. Hey, that's what we were asking before. Where's Barry Sanders down there? 9-yard gain by Sanders, finally tackled by Mark Kelso.
Now, this is only about an 8-9 yard run. Sure, he's going to get stopped short of the goal line, but watch these moves. He should be tackled. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 yards later, he's in. But I tell you what, folks, it's 1st and 10 on the 1. How do you like the odds of, if they can buy an extra down, giving it to Barry 5 times if they have to get in?
Sean Bowen's an eligible receiver. Here's Sanders.
He didn't get in. He is short.
Detroit looking to capitalize this time in the first half, had an 82-yard drive. That was their first drive, and they came up empty-handed.
Sanders going for the jump. Gets up good. But you know what? So does Shane Conlon, and next to him, Bailey, 54. Meet him in the hole, meet him in the air, and stop him short of the goal line by inches.
And the officials trying to hold up the play, as well as
actually the referee's over on the sideline. He's going to talk to Buffalo, get over on the phone, and I bet you he's going to get up here and say, hey, look, we will penalize this Buffalo Bill team if you don't stop throwing the snowballs.
Some of the defensive players for Buffalo trying to talk to the fans as well to make them aware. So Tom White looking for a little assistance from the fans.
And I think Tom White's put up with this long enough. It started a little earlier with a few snowballs, then that sort of builds. It avalanches on you, no pun intended. But I mean, it just keeps going and going. People think they're being funny.
Well, smartly so, the officials were trying not to bring any more attention to it by ignoring it at first, but you're right, it's gotten a little out of hand now.
You saw earlier on that score, the Jets are up 14-10 now on Miami to determine that last wild card playoff spot in the AFC.
The winners in, losers out.
Well, Tom White has told the bench, he's told them upstairs, he's informed Darryl Talley. And they just made the announcement we talked about, that if the fans continue to throw snowballs, the Bills will be penalized.
2nd and goal. Owens again. And Sanders spins, and touchdown, Detroit. Barry Sanders with the spin move. And Randy, we talked before about how it looks like Barry Sanders has ball bearings in his ankles. Talk about a neat spin move.
And Kirby Jackson, 47, the cornerback, comes in from the outside. He's got him. No, I'm sorry, that's Odoms, 37. Watch this. He's got him in his sights. Normal joints don't move the way Barry Sanders' joints move. I'm sorry. We talked about he had a lot of similarities to a hummingbird. His feet don't stay on the ground very long, and his joints don't do normal things.
And Detroit has tied this ball game at 7 apiece with 12:33 left in the game. Statistically, a good day for Frank Reich at quarterback, Barry Sanders as well at running back, but the most important statistics all tied at 7 apiece. And as you said, Detroit has been allowed to hang in. They can do some damage.
Momentum's a funny thing, especially in a game like this. This is still a game Buffalo would like to win. Detroit has to win to stay in the NFC Central race, and the momentum makes the biggest difference. And watch this from the end zone. What do you do? Where do you go? Look at that spin. You cannot stay with Barry Sanders when he does that. Darryl Talley, as fast and as good an athlete as he is, can't compensate for that move.
Carwell Gardner picks up the low kick and brings it back to about the 39. Well, Randy, we talked again about incentive or lack thereof at the top of the game. Do you think there's enough there for Buffalo to want to play as hard as they can?
Well, Buffalo right now has to rally on pride, and they have to rally on backups. You're not talking about relying on the pride and the ability of a Bruce Smith, or the pride and ability of a Lofton, or a Thurman Thomas, or a Jim Kelly. You're hoping your backups have the ability to do that around some of your regular starters.
1st and 10 for Buffalo. 12:21 left in the game. And Gardner gets the call, and Gardner pulling his way for about 9 yards. Carwell Gardner dragging a few people with him, finally brought down by Victor Jones.
You take a look at that playoff picture in the AFC, and we updated you a little while ago. The Jets are leading Miami 14-10 down there in Miami at Joe Robbie Stadium. And Buffalo will have this home field advantage. I really think if anybody's going to beat them in the AFC, and you see 14-13 now in Joe Robbie, if anybody's going to beat the Bills, it's going to be the Raiders, another big physical team.
Big physical type running is what Kenneth Davis is doing, despite being only 5'10", 207, as he runs for the first down. And Wayne Fonts, who actually yelled at his troops midweek because he felt they weren't focused enough, I'm sure had that message to elaborate on at halftime. First and 10. All at the 49 of Detroit.
Now the Bills offense is hurrying up a little bit, trying to get their rhythm and momentum back offensively.
And Reich's not going to have a chance as Tracy Hayworth comes in and sacks him. 3rd sack of the afternoon for the Lions. And that's the 2nd sack of the season for Hayworth.
Well, if you're going to hurry and you're trying to get some momentum, I think what you ought to do is you look across the line of scrimmage and you count guys. You count all of them, but especially you count a number 99 for Detroit. Hayworth standing up on the left side, coming here. They don't even block him. Don't allow for him. Don't get near him. The nearest Bill to Tracy Hayworth is Frank Reich.
As a result, it's a 2nd and 16 situation. Ball at the 45. All tied at 7 apiece. Wright throws it complete to Roll. A 6-yard pass play from Wright to Butch Roll.
And that breaks a significant streak, James, because the last 10 passes Butch Roll has caught
have been for
touchdowns. That is the first non-touchdown pass Butch Roll has caught in 11 catches. There's defensive coordinator Woody Woodenhofer talking to Wayne Fonts, and they're just trying to figure out, look, we got to stop him here, let him punt, we got to get the ball back.
3rd and 11. Gardner, the lone back. Davis to the left. Now Davis trying to hear the call. Wright changing the call at the line of scrimmage. And Wright decides to run it and gives himself up at least 8 yards shy of the first down marker. He picked up only 3. So Chris Moore will come on to punt.
And just to update you on that rushing crown race between Emmitt Smith and Barry Sanders, Emmitt Smith now has 100 yards on 20 carries.
Chris Moore will be punting with the wind. Mel Gray standing back at his own 10, awaiting for the punt. And the dangerous Mel Gray indeed. had a 78-yard return for a touchdown last week. And a super Buffalo punt by Chris Moore as the ball is down at about the 2. A 44-yard punt.
And if Detroit is going to make a drive, Chris Moore and the Bills make sure they are going to earn it, because he drills this thing and then lets the turf and the football do the rest. Just watch this.
Well, Randy, what looked to be an excellent bit of play by the special teams turns out not to be, as the ball actually runs alongside and scoots alongside the body of Butch Roll. We have a better angle at it right here, and you can see it goes into the end zone, and Tasker kicks the ball. So it's 1st and 10, Detroit from its own 20. And Kramer gets rid of it, and the fans want intentional grounding,
but it was thrown at the feet and in the direction of Barry Sanders. It's hard to read intent. Obviously, that was not intended to be a completion, but it was thrown at an eligible receiver, and that is not grounding. That is not intentional grounding by the definition of the rule, which is you are throwing this away to escape a sack. Sanders is right there, and we've got a flag, late flag thrown on the field.
Thrown by the officials.
Ineligible lineman, downfield, number 67 and 77, 10 yards, still first down.
You got to be kidding me.
Well,
that was thrown.
Ken Dallafor and Bubba Paris. That was 67 and 77.
That was thrown from the side 10 seconds after the play was down.
Well, a new in-house attendance record set by Buffalo, an NFL record. They break their old record. Sanders. First down. And more as Barry Sanders takes it up near the 45-yard line, a 35-yard pass play, and a nice block also by Robert Clark.
A short flip to Barry Sanders, and then a long run on Barry Sanders' ability. Gets some good help from his friends on offense, but Kramer, as a little safety valve, dumps this off, and Cornelius Bennett is a great athlete, but he has no chance of staying with Sanders there. Sanders freezes Leonard Smith. Leonard Smith comes back and tries to strip out the ball, but a nice job by Barry Sanders.
DJ Dozier in the backfield now, 1st and 10, ball at the 44. Kramer throws it complete to Clark for yet another first down. Right now, let's send you back to New York City and Greg.
All right, JB, at Texas Stadium, Dallas trying to do some damage to Atlanta's NFC West Championship hopes. Emmitt Smith, 7 yards for a second touchdown of the day, 31-27 Dallas. Smith trailing Barry Sanders by 20 yards now for the NFL rushing title, James.
All right, Greg, and I wonder how big the smile is of Terry Bradshaw, who, again, as I mentioned, picked Dallas as his team from the top of the season. 1st and 10, ball at the 43.
And you know what? We make a big deal of this NFL rushing crown. Right now, Barry Sanders could care less. He just wants to win this game.
He'd prefer to do it within the context of the game. Flags on a play. Mike Lodish may be the guy.
Encroachment, number 73. Defense, 5 yards prior to the snap. Still first down.
And that is Mike Lodish, second-year player out of UCLA. An NFL record-setting crowd on hand here at Rich Stadium to watch the Bills and the Lions do battle for only the 4th time in regular season play. Series all tied at 1-1 and 1. And it's tied here today, 7-7. 7 minutes left in the game. And Barry Sanders escapes a tackle by Hanson, but not the rest. Led by Jeff Wright, a loss of
3 on the play. Hansen didn't wrap him up, but Jeff Wright caught him and did not let him go. He did not bounce laterally off Jeff Wright. Jeff Wright wrapped his arms around him. Now that loss of yardage doesn't help him out at all. Now it's 18 yards separating Emmitt Smith and Barry Sanders.
Well, these are the kind of circumstances that Wayne Fontes would like to see Barry Sanders operate in that, with the game at hand, Barry will run much better. 2nd and 8 from the 41. Incomplete. Intended receiver was Mike Farr. Farr actually had to turn back across his body to try and catch that one, thrown behind.
You know, under normal conditions, if we're in the dome, you know, you're looking at a field goal of a prodigious amount, but I mean, you're talking go after a 50-yarder, go after a 45-yarder. Remember, Detroit is going into this win. They have got to get down to have Eddie Murray kick around a 35 to 37-yarder to make it a realistic attempt, I think.
Eddie Murray has not been particularly effective outdoors anyway. 3rd and 8. 0 for 7 on 3rd downs. Nickel defensive package for the Bills.
Comes the blitz.
And Kramer has an open Brett Perryman, but throws it just a little too high. Had an open Perryman for the 1st down, and ball thrown just a little too high.
Kramer got the blitz, getting a lot of pressure from a lot of the Buffalo Bills up front. Loadish, 73, the last one to get the pressure in. Throws his ball up. Grazes off the hands, but that ball was thrown high.
Kramer looking on now, and Perryman wishing he had that one back. Jim Arnold, in the meantime, on to punt. 5:55 left in the game, and we're all tied. And Hicks lets it roll, and it'll be down inside the 10. So it'll be Buffalo ball when we come back. Buffalo with 2 timeouts remaining. 5:47 left in the game. Lions all 3.
Buffalo has only 46 yards total offense this half.
As Davis takes it across the 10 to about the 11 for 4 yards. Second and 6. And Davis picked off. Sheldon White, touchdown, Detroit.
Interception.
First interception of the season for Sheldon White, and he returns it for the score. Intended for Kenneth Davis, and just that quick, as we said, Randy, Detroit can come back.
That momentum we talked about, the ball was tipped in the air by Kenneth Davis, which gave it more air, it looked like.
So the Lions trying to keep their NFC Central Division title hopes alive. Move out in front of the Bills with 5:19 left in the game. As Eddie Murray comes on to try to make it a 14-7 lead. He's kicking into a strong win, but it's good. So the Lions capitalize on the turnover, a Sheldon White interception and return for the score, and Detroit is on top 14-7.
When you throw the ball in this field position, a safe, reliable pass is usually a little flip out to a running back. Well, in this instance, as this little flip comes out here, it bounces off of Davis's arm. Sheldon White falls down catching the ball, has a presence of mind to get up, and just that fast, 14-7 Detroit. Think Wayne Fontes is excited about this at all?
Just a little.
He knows his team hasn't played well, but he also knows his team is doing something right now it's done all year long, and that's hang in against tough teams.
Getting to breaks that a team like Green Bay did not get as you take a look at the players signaling thumbs up for Mike Utley.
And, you know, we were given a little note by Bill Keenan, Vice President of Communications, Media and stuff for the Detroit Lions. The Buffalo Bills players, coaches, and organization donated $11,000 to the Mike Utley Foundation this week. A great move by the organization here in Buffalo. And this Mike Utley has been an incredible inspiration to this Detroit Lion team.
A class move by this organization indeed. Vice President of Communications
or stuff for the stuff. Obviously, you've noticed how high I've climbed in a corporate ladder in my career.
You've done quite well, big
More of a corporate footstool.
Sheldon White, who completed a sparkling career at Miami of Ohio. And Murray, as it goes out of bounds at the 30, so it'll be marked at the 35. And what is Murray pointing at?
He's pointing that it struck. He's claiming the ball struck a Buffalo Bill player before it went out of bounds. Look at Melvin Jenkins.
When he was out of bounds, therefore it's a kickoff out of bounds. Receiver's ball at the 35-yard line. First down.
Well, I guess that's explanation enough that Murray will not win that argument.
Well, I'll say one thing for referee Tom White. He doesn't do explanations in short, brief, concise things, but he gets the explanation done because he's absolutely correct. He's out of bounds when that ball hits him. The ball went out of bounds. Buffalo gets it on the 35-yard line.
5:15 left in the game. Lions on top, 14-7. First and 10, Buffalo from the 35. Right. Deep drop. Flushed. Decides to take it and runs out of bounds at about the 43-yard line. He'll be about 2 yards shy of the first down.
Talk about a close rushing race now with Emmitt Smith and Barry Sanders. I don't have to say anything on that one.
And you know what? It wouldn't make any difference if you went over and told Barry Sanders right now that he was even with Smith.
Emmitt Smith has 126 yards today on 24 carries.
On 2nd and 2, Davis with the first down across midfield. Tackled by Chris Spielman. 9-yard gain on the play as Davis doing it all around for Buffalo. Right on first down again to Davis, who drops it. Will be 2nd and 10 from the 48. 4:25 left in the game. Lions on top, 14-7.
Look on the bright side, Kenneth. You didn't knock it up in the air. Last time he batted it up. That time he batted it down.
Buffalo trying to keep intact a 17-game win streak here at Rich Stadium. 2nd and 10.
4:25 left to get that tie-in score.
And complete to Edwards. And that is a first down. A 13-yard pass play from Frank Reich to Al Edwards, a second-year player out of Northwest Louisiana State. Bruce Alexander had a little pressure on Reich, but couldn't get to him in time. Ball at the 35. Davis. And Davis ahead for 2. Should bring up a 2nd and 8. Owens and Spielman on the stop. Kenneth Davis, strong afternoon, 25 carries, 118 yards, and Marv Levy certainly has to be pleased with that, although Levy would like to see a better production total offense in this the second half. Right. As Owens misses a sack, Lawrence Pete chasing him, and Wright still eluding him. Finally unloads it in the direction of Alexander, and it's incomplete. Well, I tell you, Dan Owens, he was running for his life.
We're talking about him having the offensive lineman's mentality. He's not the quickest quarterback in the world, but a great job by Frank Reich and his offensive line keeping things alive. There's Wayne Fonch. You heard him screaming and yelling. He's yelling at that defense. You got to get a guy. this guy can't run that fast. You got to catch a guy like this. Well, not that time. Spindler got a hand on him. Lawrence Peak tries to get near him, can't. And at the last second, Tracy Hayes gets in there and makes him dump it off.
On 3rd and 8. And now Wright goes down. 4th sack of the afternoon for the Lions. And I believe Jeff Hunter was the first man to get there.
Timeout by Buffalo. Watch out of the left part of the screen. You'll see Hunter, number 97, from the left end, cleanly gets through. Big Parker, 74, got a hand on him, but Jeff Hunter came right around the outside to sack Frank Reich on that one.
And Buffalo calls a timeout, leaving the Bills with 1. Lions have a full complement of 3 remaining with 3:38 left in the game. And again, we talked before, no real incentive for Marv Levy and the Buffalo Bills. Plenty there for Wayne Fontes and the Lions. The Lions trying to get to the Central Division title.
Spectators are reminded it is unlawful to enter the playing field at any time during the game or at the end of the game. Violators will be subject to arrest and prosecution. Thank you for your cooperation with this regulation.
When you talk about incentive, I think Buffalo's got plenty of incentive. But Buffalo's playing from a pride standpoint. Whoever's in the game, I happen to think the Kellys and the Thomases and those guys should be in this ball game and should have played today. But they've got plenty of incentive right here to prove they can make a comeback, to get some momentum. Coming back at this point would be a great momentum builder for the Buffalo Bills.
4th and 13. Complete to Davis, and Davis is going to be well shy of the first down, at least by 7 yards. With 3:30 left in the game.
Ball goes over to Detroit on down.
So the Lions will take over, and the ball is marked at the 32. Detroit again, with 3:30 left in the game, has 3 timeouts remaining. Buffalo with just 1. And don't forget, coming up at the conclusion of this game, it'll be the NFL Today postseason game. Make that the postseason show, playoff update. Greg and Terry with all the scores and highlights. No moves for that.
Down there in that Miami game at Joe Robbie Stadium, the Jets are up 17-13 now in Miami with 2:01 remaining.
And Buffalo call timeout. They have no more timeouts remaining. Today's game was produced by Bob Monsbach and directed by Kathy Barretto. The NFL Today was produced by Eric Mann and directed by Duke Struck. The senior producer of the NFL on CBS is Ed Gorin, and the executive producer is Ted Shaker. Also, thanks to our associate producer today, Steve Shear, Baseball Shear, and our outstanding broadcast associate, Ward Glassmeyer. A fine job all season long.
And you got to once again thank our technical crew for the job they did getting us on the air today. Look at the rushing. Still tied, 15-30. This is the time you want Barry Sanders carrying the ball. This is a situation. 3:17. Run out the clock with the running game.
Play action. Kramer. Sack.
Loss of 6, 3rd and 15.
Well, this thing might have fooled somebody, but nobody had fooled us on the Buffalo Bill defense. Hansen and that whole defense keep their responsibility there. Hansen, number 90, don't bite on that fake to Barry Sanders and take down Kramer. Now this takes the Detroit Lions from a running situation in a Barry Sanders down and puts it into a Farr and Perryman down in a throwing situation.
Sanders, flag on the play. And the play was actually whistled dead before it actually got off.
76 offense, moving prior to the snap. It's a 5-yard penalty, still 3rd down.
That's the rookie Scott Conover, and keep in mind, Detroit obviously not helping itself here with the penalties, but also would be punting into the wind if they can't get anything going on this offensive series. 2:39 left in the game. Lions on top by just a touchdown. 3rd and 20, and the Lions are 0 for 8 on 3rd down conversions.
Actually, the way Eric Kramer is throwing the ball right now, you got to think they're going to run it. Why put this ball in the air and give the opportunity for a huge play back in the other direction? Run the ball with Barry, let the clock run down to 2 minutes, kick it, turn to Woody Wittenhofer, the defensive coordinator, and say, look, you win the game if you're Detroit.
Here are situations where the likes of a Rodney Peete would be dangerous because of his running ability. Sanders. Fumble! Buffalo looks to have recovered.
They'll call that a fumble and downed on the 20.
Darryl Talley, the Pro Bowler, with the fumble recovery.
The sprint draw for the Detroit Lions. Sanders goes up, is thwarted. The ball is stripped out as he twists, and Darryl Talley recovers. Second big play of the day for Darryl Talley.
The play is being reviewed upstairs by Al Sabato and company. And if it stands, the Bills will take over with 2:38 remaining. Ball at the 20 of Detroit.
And what they'll be reviewing is, was he down? Was he stopped? Was there anything wrong as that ball came out that would make them reverse this call?
Is a fumble down by contact, no forward progress. Therefore, replay is not in this play. First down.
Barry Sanders, you see it right there, loses a yard and might have lost the rushing title with it. And you know what? He could care less about the rushing title right now. He's worried about his team winning the game, and Buffalo has no timeouts. Detroit 3.
1st and 10 from the 20. 2:37 left. Tasker, touchdown, Buffalo. Just that quickly. First receiving touchdown of the season for Steve Tasker. This for the tie. It's good.
He just knuckleballed that thing in there for that point. Wow. But not a bad touchdown play and a reception by a special teams Pro Bowler that supposedly wasn't going to play here today. What's he do? Comes in on special teams, has made a couple plays, comes in here on offense, and makes the biggest play of the day offensively for the Buffalo Bills. Running along the sideline, in between defenders, you've got Detroit Lions looking everywhere, but at Steve Tasker, a nice pass by Frank Reich.
Steve Tasker, a young man who would like to be a sportscaster when it's all over and done, would love to narrate the highlight here.
Anthony Bell, the linebacker, 59, is running and looking right. He's looking left. The receiver is right behind him. The touchdown goes over his head, and it's 6 points for the Bills.
Well, Give a lot of credit to the Buffalo defense that forced the fumble and the alert recovery by the Pro Bowler Darryl Talley. And the Bills capitalize. Eloisa in the direction of DJ Dozier from the 17. And Dozier is dropped by Ray Bentley. So the Lions will take over at about the 24 with 2:23 left. As you take a look, Dallas on top by 4 over Atlanta. The winner here will go to the AFC playoffs between the Jets and Miami. 48 seconds left. Tampa Bay leading Indy by 14. The draft game there. Nothing of consequence in that particular game.
And here Detroit has all 3 timeouts and 2 minutes and 23 seconds.
Buffalo with no timeouts. Kramer looking for more. Incomplete. A flag on a play.
That'll be pass interference.
That was James Williams, a second-year player out of Fresno State.
That is going for far. Incomplete as a flag down.
And Wayne Fonts has been singing the praises of Herman Moore.
Pass interference. Number 31 defense. First down at the spot. First down.
You look here in the left part of the screen. Notice the 31 making contact, bear hugging, wrapping his arms, and not looking back to the quarterback. Blatant, easy to call.
First and 10 from the 39. Cliff Hicks in place of James Williams. Was he inbounds? No, he was not. Mike Farr made the catch but was out of bounds. And Cliff Hicks, who replaced James Williams, was on the coverage.
Kramer did a good job of evading a tackler, getting this pass off. Hard to tell from that angle whether he had possession as he was dragging his feet out of bounds, though. I think that was awful close.
Great effort on the part of Mike Farr, who really has improved. 6 defensive backs in for the Bills. 2:13 left in the game, all tied at 14 apiece.
There's the blitz.
Incomplete. Intended receiver, Brett Perryman. And this Buffalo defense rising to the challenge.
We talked about that New York Jets-Miami game going on, James. Miami's now up 20-17 over the Jets with 44 seconds to go.
Well, you don't think those 2 teams won it?
12 men on the field. Defense, 5 yards.
Wow. Huge penalty against the Buffalo Bills with a great blitz, getting up there, forcing Kramer to throw that one away, and they have 12 men on the field.
And this is the score that Randy was just talking about. The winner of this game moves into the last AFC playoff spot between Miami and New York. 2nd and 5 at the 44. 2:08 left in the game. Sanders reverses field and runs out of bounds with the first down. Barry Sanders made it all happen on his own, and it was a 7-yard run, but the most exciting 7-yard run.
Just like you draw it up for Barry Sanders, go right and cut it back.
You see the time remaining. Ball game deadlocked at 14 apiece. Barry Sanders standing on the sidelines as his teammates will have the ball at the 48, 1st and 10.
And in spite of his 105 yards rushing today, he's now trailing Emmitt Smith by 27 yards because Emmitt Smith has 158 yards rushing today. And by the way, down that game where Dallas leading Atlanta, there are 2 minutes left now in that ball game.
Barry could do it on one run. 1st and 10 D.J. Dozier, the lone back. And Kramer changing the call at the line of scrimmage. And throws it too low in the direction of Mike Farr.
Barry Sanders, after resting on that first down play, is coming back into the game. And that's a perfect Barry Sanders play, a little thing like that, a little flip off into the flat, let him run with it.
Second and 10. Ball at the 48. 1:55 left. 6 defensive backs in for the Bills. Here comes Hicks. Incomplete, intended for Barry Sanders. Clifford Hicks with the corner blitz.
That game is now tied. The Jets have tied that game at 20 with 2 seconds remaining.
Boy, some great action taking place around the NFL. And don't forget, the NFL Today post-game show coming up. Greg and Terry will have all the scores and highlights. 3rd and 10.
The big play receiver for Detroit is Mike Farr, 81.
Complete to Clark, and Clark has the first down and is down at the 31. A big catch by Robert Clark, tackled by Nate Odoms. A 17-yard pass play.
No need for Detroit to rush and hurry in this situation. They've got plenty of time left as the clock runs to 1.5 minutes. Nice little play. Clark does a stop, go, and a spin. Picks up the first down. They have about 10 yards to go to get into effective field goal range for Eddie Murray.
1:18 left. Bills, no timeouts. 1st and 10, Detroit. Sanders. And Sanders roped and dropped by Leon Seals.
Good tackle by Leon Seals, dropping Barry Sanders back on the 30, because right here you're looking at a 47-yard field goal into this win. Indoors for Eddie Murray, that's no problem. Out in this weather and this wind, they've got to get to about 37. So they need 10 more yards to get into his effective range. Detroit burns off a timeout, leaving them with 2.
And speaking of 37, Randy, as you mentioned, that was the longest kick outdoors this season for Eddie Murray, a 37-yarder, that coming against San Francisco. Barry Sanders, 25 carries for 98 yards on the afternoon. But again, all he's thinking is victory. So setting the stage again, Buffalo with no timeouts remaining. Detroit has 2 timeouts. It's all tied at 14 apiece. 1:03 remaining. Detroit trying to keep its NFC Central Division title hopes alive with the victory today, coupled with the loss by the Bears tomorrow. As you take a look at Eddie Murray, his foot may be called on. 2nd and 9 from the 30. Intended receiver was Robert Clark. Will bring up a 3rd and 9 with 1 minute left in the game.
3rd and 9.
And in that rushing thing, in that rushing title race, Emmitt Smith now is 1563 to Barry's 1538. Smith has 160 yards rushing.
Sanders, the lone back. 3rd and 9. And Kramer drills it complete to Perryman, but Perryman looks to be shy about a half a yard of the first down marker.
It's going to be close, James, but more importantly are the yards. It puts them within the 38 to 39-yard field goal range for Eddie Murray. Very, very important.
So it'll bring up a 4th and 1.
I don't think there's a decision here. There can't be anything. You put Eddie Murray on the field and you let him kick this field goal.
So Detroit calls a timeout, leaving 1.
Take another look, and what they really want to look at is where he was, where the ball was, as his progress was stopped, and he comes down. Would appear to be on about the 30 or 21, 22-yard line, or 22, right where they have it marked. With 35 seconds left, the discussion on the Detroit sideline is, do we go for it or do we kick the field goal?
What do you think?
Guys, with your success in short yardage and goal line today against this Buffalo Bill defense, what are you going to do? Run a sneak? I think you kick the field goal. Regardless of having Barry Sanders back there, you kick the field goal and play for the win, and that's what Wayne Fontes and the Lions are going to do.
Lions have 1 timeout remaining. Bills none. This will be a 39-yarder. It will be the longest outdoors for Eddie Murray. And it's no good. And there is a flag on a play near the goal line.
You got to count bodies. Did they have 12 men on the field?
And that's what Eddie Murray is signaling.
Well, it makes it easier to block a field goal if you're going to go with 12 guys after it. If this is 12 men on the field, remember, it's first down Detroit, and it'll be on the 17-yard line.
With 34 seconds left in the game.
Play again. 12 men on the field, defense, 5 yards, first down.
Incredible.
The Lions have new life. And boy, have the breaks gone the way of Wayne Fontes this season. And there are many people who are strongly backing Wayne Fontes as a Coach of the Year candidate.
That's right. But you got to figure here, if they're going to run it, they're going to run it and get this ball out into the middle of the field and then call their final timeout as the clock winds down.
From the 17, first and 10, incomplete. Clark looked one way, Kramer threw the other way. Will be second and 10 with 32 seconds left in the game. And again, by way of a reminder, 1 timeout left for Detroit, none for Buffalo. Buffalo's 17-game home winning streak here at Rich Stadium on the line. Kramer throws it complete to Herman Moore to the right side of the field. He's going to be about 6 yards shy of the first down marker as the clock continues to wind, less than 20 seconds.
Detroit isn't in a huge hurry, but they got to get to the line here. Eric Kramer will kill the ball down with a short pass at the feet of the center.
And that's exactly what he does on 3rd down. Here at Rich Stadium in Orchard Park, New York, where the Lions are going for the win. They're tied 14-14 with the Bills. 12 seconds left. This will be a 30-yard field goal attempt by Murray. And he misses a second attempt. And there is no flag on the field on this play.
He missed a 39-yarder earlier. Buffalo was called for having 12 men on the field. He comes in and does the same thing from 30 yards. Who says it doesn't make a difference for these indoor guys coming outside into bad conditions? It affects these kickers the most. The snowball lands at the feet of the kicker, right in the holder. Odoms runs into the kicker, but it was ruled momentum. Davis blocked into him. What's Levy think? He's happy. He knows they dodged the bullet.
And the Bills will let the clock run out, and we will go into overtime, tied at 14 apiece. And Eddie Murray, what a long afternoon for him. 2 field goals missed, as you mentioned, a 39-yarder and a 30-yarder.
Overtime to follow.
His previous best outdoors against San Francisco, a 37-yarder. And as you mentioned, Randy, inside, yes, he is quite effective. He had a season long of 50, did it twice this year.
And how important is this coin toss coming up? Because you're talking about the wind here. The wind is critical and has been for the kicking games and the throwing.
So as we move into overtime, we'll have a 15-minute period, sudden death. Both teams will get 2 timeouts apiece. So take a look at Marv Levy. Well, you think Murray wants to be out here with this?
Detroit wins the toss. Buffalo puts the wind in their face.
The Buffalo Bills have played to 8 ties in their 31-year history. The last one was against the Lions 19 years ago. We go into overtime here, tied at 14 apiece. And again, a tie would be very positive for Detroit because Chicago then would have to win tomorrow. And again, by way of review, the overtime, a 15-minute period, both teams with 2 timeouts, and it's sudden death. Detroit will be receiving. Mel Gray, the leading kickoff returner in the NFC, back at his own 4. Brad Dalwiso will be kicking off for the Bills.
And a good decision by Buffalo in this case, taking the wind at their backs, putting the wind in Detroit's face, and saying, okay, if you're going to beat us, you have to beat us with the pass into the wind, because we're going to try to take Barry Sanders out in this situation. Sanders is at 15.38 for the year. Emmitt Smith is done today at 15.63. So Barry need 25 yards.
Mel Gray has a 71-yard return, but he won't get it. This is D.J. Dozier. And Dozier gets knocked out of bounds at about the 34. So the Lions will take over with 14:52 left in overtime, and Kramer still at the helm. As you take a look at the all-time overtime records of these 2 ball clubs, distinct advantage in favor of Buffalo.
And if Detroit's ever needed poise and control out of Eric Kramer, it's in this situation right here. You don't want to make a mistake with a bad pass in overtime.
1st and 10 from the 35. And it's complete for the first down. Robert Clark. Robert Clark coming off of a big game last week against Green Bay where he had 3 catches for 39 yards and 2 touchdowns.
And as Detroit makes its attempt to drive down the field here, remember, Eddie Murray missed from 39, Eddie Murray missed from 30. So we're talking getting down to the 10 or inside of that for an effective range for Eddie Murray today. He needs inside 30 yards. Long way to go for the Detroit Lions.
1st and 10 from the 46. Kramer slips. Throws it complete to Perryman, and Perryman inside midfield to about the 47. Tackled by Leonard Smith.
Yes, 7.
A gain of 7 on a play will bring up a 2nd and 3. And Dallas knocks off Atlanta So the Saints, if they are victorious later on, the Saints will win the NFC West Division title.
You saw that Miami Jet team game also in overtime, as we are.
Sanders down to about the 36. A gain of 11 on the play. And Barry Sanders, because of this overtime period, may yet win the NFL rushing title. 26 carries, 109 yards on the afternoon for Barry Sanders. First and 10, ball marked at the 36.
And Buffalo has to remember Eddie Murray's lack of range into this win. They have about 30 yards of field to defend before they get into his range where he can beat them.
Complete to Clark. First down. Inside the 25. Tackled by Nate Odoms. So Eric Kramer looking poised on this overtime drive, marching the Lions down the field. We're in sudden death overtime, all tied at 14 apiece. And the other story, the NFL rushing title at stake. Sanders right now trailing Emmitt Smith. Sanders came into the day leading the NFL, and Smith in particular by 37 yards.
15 yards now separating the two. But more importantly, 15 yards is about the amount of yards that Detroit needs to get, and Buffalo has to keep them from getting.
Kramer complete to Perryman, and Perryman inside the 10 down to about the 9. Stopped by Mark Kelso. A 14-yard pass play. This was the poise that Kramer needed to be showing earlier, but he's displaying it at a good time here.
And at this point, you got to think things get a little more conservative for Wayne Fontes and the Detroit Lions. You might take a shot or two in the end zone.
A sold-out crowd here at Rich Stadium. Buffalo and Detroit all tied at 14 apiece. First and goal for the Lions. Ball at the 9. 11:34 of overtime remaining. Kramer changing the call. With time. Did he catch it? He did. Perryman at the 4. It'll be second and goal at the 4 for the Lions.
Second and goal from the 3.
Buffalo throughout the day allowed Detroit to stay in the game, leading by only 7-0, and finally, and Randy, it looks like there's a flag.
And here on second down, James, they're going to go for it.
He picked it back up, and Eddie Murray will get a third shot. Now, Eddie Murray has already missed 2 field goals, one of 39 yards, the second of 30. Now he gets a chance here in overtime. This will be a 21-yard field goal.
And the forgotten element is the snap and hold.
And the third time is good for Eddie Murray as the Lions come away victorious and break a 17-game home win streak of the Buffalo Bills.
That's it. Wait. Congratulations.
And you heard the player saying that's history. The Lions have just won their 12th game of the regular season, and that is a franchise best.
The guys played hard. We lost Gunny Blades. We lost our other linebacker. Who else I lose? They just played a great football game. Dennis Gibson. I'm so excited for this football team. They come along there. Now you go home and sit. Let's see what Chicago can do. Great win. Thank you very much, baby. Let's go. Where's the...
And as a side note, Barry Sanders has finished second in the NFL rushing title with 1548 total. And here's the one that won it. Good snap from Tunnell, good hold from Arnold, and Murray leaves no doubt drilling this one through the heart. Who do you think this guy's rooting for?
So Wayne Fontes and the Lions give Eddie Murray a third opportunity, and the third time is good. A 21-yard field goal by Eddie Murray. And the Lions win it in overtime, 17-14 over the Bills.
And this gives the Detroit Lions the 12th win of the year. They're 12-4 for the first time in franchise history. They've won 12 games.
And the New York Jets have won in overtime as well. They will now take the last playoff spot in the AFC. Miami is out. The Lions will host a playoff game in Detroit no matter what. So for Randy Cross, this is James Brown saying so long from Rich Stadium. Final score, Lions 17, Bills 14. Coming next, the NFL Today postgame show with Greg and Terry. Stay tuned.
27 win over the Atlanta Falcons. Dallas will play the runner-up in the NFC Central Division. The Detroit Lions and the Buffalo Bills, that's all over now. The Lions need a loss by the Chicago Bears in San Francisco tomorrow night to win the NFC Central. They beat the Bills in overtime. Another overtime game. The New York Jets qualify for the playoffs in the AFC on Raul Alegre's 30-yard field goal in overtime, 23-20. The Indianapolis Colts at Tampa. The Bucs win it by a score of 17-13. In Pittsburgh, the Steelers in the fourth quarter leading the Cleveland Browns by a touchdown. The final in Cincinnati, the Bengals 29-7 over the New England Patriots. Games just underway late this afternoon. The Phoenix Cardinals leading New Orleans 3-0 in the first. The Eagles leading the Redskins by a score of 7-0 in the first quarter. Kansas City and the Raiders playing in the first quarter in Los Angeles. The Chiefs lead it by a score of 7-0. Winner of that game will host the first-round playoff game next week between these same two teams. And the Denver Broncos, looking for a first-round bye with a victory at San Diego today, are scoreless against the Chargers in the first quarter. For those of you who've been watching Atlanta and Dallas, we'll send you back to the stadium and the game you've been watching. Those of you watching Detroit and Buffalo, stay tuned. Post-game show continues from New York in just a moment. Welcome back to New York, everyone. Greg Gumbel along with Terry Bradshaw. It's been some day, and it ain't over yet.
It's just beginning, actually, Greg.
The Dallas Cowboys have defeated the Atlanta Falcons by a score of 31-27. Terrific game in the rainy weather at Texas Stadium today. Let's show you some of the highlights. Troy Aikman, there were some questions whether or not Jimmy Johnson might let him play today. No, he watched Steve Berline, but Chris Miller had a heck of a day. This is a 43-yarder.
Michael Haynes down the right side, and 2 long passes day for Haynes. Wet conditions, outstanding day to throw the football, and both teams did it well. Here's Smith up the middle for a touchdown run, one of 2 touchdown runs he had today.
7 yards. He had 160 yards on the day. Pretty good day in all for Emmitt Smith. So let's recap the NFC playoff picture as we know it right now. The Atlanta Falcons will play the New Orleans Saints in the first round. Now, whether or not they play the Saints in New Orleans or in Atlanta depends on what the Saints do against the Phoenix Cardinals this afternoon. And right now, Phoenix is leading the Saints with 5:40 to play in the first quarter by a score of 3-0. So should the New Orleans Saints go on and beat Phoenix, then it'll be Atlanta against Phoenix. Otherwise, the Saints will visit the Atlanta Falcons. Meanwhile, the key is that the Atlanta Falcons will play New Orleans. They'll play them somewhere.
The New Orleans is playing Phoenix now, and if New Orleans beats Phoenix, then they go home. They're the NFC West Division champions. They would host the Falcons, who have already beaten them in New Orleans once this year already.
Now, the Cowboys sit back to see who's going to win the NFC Central Division Championship. Should the Bears beat San Francisco tomorrow night at Candlestick, then the Cowboys will play the Detroit Lions. But should the Bears lose that game, then it'll be Dallas against the Bears. What do you think about this game now? The Bears have some incentive, don't they?
Well, I think that, yeah, absolutely. On the other side of that, I think the 49ers have as much incentive as anyone. There was probably no other team in the National Football League that would scare Buffalo or the Washington Redskins more than the San Francisco 49ers, especially, I thought, with Bono playing at quarterback. This game will be treated as a playoff game and kind of as a signal for 1992 by the 49ers. I expect him to play well, but knowing Mike Ditka, he does not want to relinquish the NFC Central title. The Bears will be ready to play also.
They won't do so willingly anyway. Now, in the AFC, the New York Jets, by virtue of a Raul Alegre field goal in overtime from 30 yards out, beat the Miami Dolphins today 23-20. They qualify for that 6th and final wild card spot in the AFC, and they will play either Houston or Denver. Should Denver win at San Diego today, then they will get the first round bye, and the Jets will play Houston. And right now in San Diego, as you see it in the first quarter, the Broncos, by virtue of a field goal, lead it by a score of 3-0. Now, the other AFC playoff game next week will be between the Chiefs and the Raiders. They're in the first quarter in Los Angeles, and it's tied at 7 apiece. The winner of this game will be the home team. These same two teams will meet in the first round of the AFC playoffs next week. The winner today will be at home next week in the first round playoff game. Now, we'll send you back to James Brown and Randy Cross at Rich Stadium in Buffalo after a timeout as the NFL continues here on CBS.
Back here in Buffalo, where the Detroit Lions not only snap Buffalo's 17-game home winning streak here at Rich Stadium, but also keep their NFC Central Division title hopes alive. And after the game, we talk with a jubilant Wayne Fontes. Well, congratulations, Wayne Fontes. Again, you continue to do it. Wayne, you were screaming coming into this game, talking about how they were focusing on Buffalo and their 4 players out. You've overcome adversity all season long.
Without a doubt, James. This probably was one of the great wins of Detroit Lion history. I'm not stepping on any toes when I say that, but for this football team, Buffalo talked about having 4 or 2 or 3 guys out. We played about seven starters, and for this team to take up that level and to focus and win a game that no one gave us a chance to win, I'm very, very proud of this football team.
Wayne, you watched Eddie Murray miss from 39. You watched him miss from 30. What were you thinking as you watched this one?
Well, I said 3 times the charm. I wouldn't have given up on him. We were on the 3-yard line, and for us to take a chance to hand the ball back to Barry or something like that, I got a good kicker. Eddie's a good kicker. He said it was on the right hash where he wanted it, and a lot of prayers were said, and he made it.
And we're watching you now, Wayne, is just showing the jubilation of that 3rd time being good.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm looking at it myself, and that's my son with me right there, and we're excited about it, my nephew, and this whole football team, this whole program since I've taken over 3 years ago, and I think we're on the right track. It's going to be hard to duplicate what we're doing right now, but hopefully the Bears may get beat next week or tomorrow, and we get a chance to get a week off, but let's see what happens next week. I'm rattling here. Let me tell you what, let's just see what happens tomorrow with the Bears.
Wayne, final question. You're into the playoffs now. You said you weren't going to be satisfied just to get in.
Oh, no. I told the guys when we got into the playoffs that it wasn't over yet, that we still had some work to be done. We still have a chance to win this doggone Super Bowl. Well, we have a chance as good as anybody else right now. The thing we have to do is sit back, stay focused on the ball game tomorrow night, take what comes to us, and just give the best we got.
Thumbs up.
Thank you. And this is from Mike Utley. Mike, I hope you're watching. The players did it for you again. We love you, Mike, and God bless you. That's Mike Utley.
Congratulations, Wayne.
Thanks, guys. Thanks.
All right, Wayne, and certainly we know one team that has a definite shot at the Super Bowl, and that's the Buffalo Bills. They will host the playoffs, the AFC playoffs, throughout.
I think this is the class of the AFC is here in Buffalo, regardless of what happened today. You know, Detroit won a game it had to win, and Buffalo lost a game that to the Buffalo Bills clearly really didn't matter.
Well, I tell you, Detroit really has been remarkable in terms of how they've overcome adversity all year long. Do you think the strain can continue into the playoffs for them?
I think what Wayne Fontes has to do is he shows his team the last 2 weeks. They played 2 teams where they made a lot of mistakes, came back late in the game, and won these games, and that's how they might have to win in the playoffs, but consistent play and consistent defense is what wins in the playoffs.
All right, big fella, it's been very enjoyable with you this year.
Same here, James. Thanks.
All right, so for Randy Cross, this is James Brown saying so long from Rich Stadium, where the final score was Detroit 17, Buffalo 14. You've been watching CBS Sports coverage of the National Football League. The story of the day, once again, Wayne Fontes and the Lions in overtime, a franchise best 12 victories.